Happy wedding anniversary.
Thank you. And this is my lovely wife, Donna Marie Gandia. We've been married 15 years. Before that, we were fucking for 10 without being married.
Look at the look in her face.
I saved myself.
She saved herself, yeah. And so tonight we've got some people over. In fact, I think, let me see if I can put them on. The party is on upstairs.
There's Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Lauren.
And we've got a great mixture of Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, and white people. We need some black people. So, Matt, you're invited over. Some Asians, too.
Lauren's like, what, sister?
All right, you go upstairs. I'll meet you in a little while.
All right, bye. I love you.
All right.
Bye, guys. Have a good show.
That is my lovely wife. There is upon the Gandia household as we are celebrating 15 years of married bliss. We've been married 17 years now. Just kidding. Let's roll the open. What do you say, Dan Aguirre?
I'm here. Let's go.
All right.
Put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth. And they spend hours looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
I love the efficiency of bourbon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
Oh, God. Fuck you, FCC. I get to swear all I want, and so does Dan Aguirre. Dan Aguirre, how are you, my friend?
I'm well. Since your wife is out of the room, I want to say what I'm really thinking. Did you ever see that movie Cool World back in '92 where Kim Basinger becomes alive, but she's a cartoon and all that shit? I've never been in one of these guys that beat off to anime porn, but I really paid attention to our intro. Some of the women on the intro, I think I could fuck. I think I would do. I'm bringing the medium dick energy tonight.
I love it. I love it. I hope to get some tonight. The party. Maybe I will, after everybody leaves, I'll have sex with my wife, and then I'll come back for the last 10 minutes of the show. Because it's only going to take me 10 minutes to make love to my wife.
Oh, good for you.
Dan, this is going to be a special show because I'm not going to be on it. I'm going to be headed upstairs to the party, enjoy my family. My daughter's here with her baby, my grandson, her husband. My stepdaughter is here with Diego, her long time. They've been dating since they were in 8th grade, and they're in their mid to late 20s now. So imagine that love affair. And how long
you remember Sylvester that's been on the show with us a few times?
Yes.
The Broncos fan, my friend I grew up with. He's been with his lady since she was in the 9th grade.
Whoa!
And he was in 12th. They met when he was a senior and she was a freshman, and they've got several kids, and they've been married this whole time.
That is great. We've gotten a report here by Omar Barrios that everything sounds good and clear, no echoes. Let's keep it that way. StreamYard and everyone else responsible for our transmission to millions of people around the world. and so also here are my my nephew Bobby and his beautiful wife Mari and their two beautiful kids. I was telling Nomad in the green room earlier that, you know, it's what's interesting, Dan, is every time we've had kids over to the house, I can tell if they're white or Puerto Rican because the white kids get away with everything. They're allowed to run around. Puerto Rican kids, they just sit quietly and steal.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. These are jokes.
I couldn't get away with those jokes, and that's okay.
Oh, come on. This is the Dan and Aldo Bear Their Souls. There are no rules. Let the coquito flow, baby. That's right. There are no rules. What was the last time you said an off-color joke?
I mean, I make sex jokes that some people wouldn't like, but a racial joke? I'd like to think never. But I mean, maybe in like 1990, and I was dumb and young and don't remember. That's all I can. I mean, I'd like to think that I'm not prejudiced. So,
yeah. Well, it's funny because I'm Puerto Rican. I feel like I'm allowed to get away with that. So it is. Cliff says, "There goes the political correctness." Yes, I don't know. I'm probably doing it wrong. You know. My Diego, my stepdaughter's son, I've made a couple of jokes over the years about him being Mexican and so forth. And then afterwards, you know, back home, I say, my wife will say, I don't think you should have said that joke about where do Mexicans pay their phone bill at Taco Bell. Yeah, I don't think you should have said that, Diego. I go, oh, you're probably right. Yeah. Anyways, it's going to be Johnny Santucci taking over the board and Nomad.
He can run point guard well.
I'm sorry, say again.
I said Tooch can run point guard well, so we're in good hands.
He does. And the interesting thing about Tooch is that when he is in control of the show, anytime you see him looking up, it's because he's looking at his gambling bets on the multiple monitors that he's got above his computer screen. So he is a true handicapper and one of the best in the business. And of course, Nomad will be here. Nomad, one of our new Barroom Network show hosts, and he is always a treat. He's got great football opinions. Why? Because he's played the game, and also because he's just one cool motherfucker. I bet you his wallet says "bad motherfucker" on it.
Like Samuel Jackson on Pulp Fiction.
Yes, exactly. You know what, J-Rock? You are right. Most of us Puerto Ricans are Caucasian. I mean, look at me. I'm fucking whiter than Casper the Ghost, and I shaved my beard off. I fucking look like Jesus, I could run for president with this face. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to bring Tooch in and Nomad in. I think the Tooch is writing something down. He's down. No, he's up.
Can I share an opinion with you before you go and get your reaction on one Bears thing?
Absolutely.
For weeks I've been fighting that narrative. Not the one, I don't think that you've advocated it, but the narrative that the Bears are tanking. Mm-hmm. Man, when you have two possessions in the red zone and you don't even attempt a pass, especially after when they turn it over on downs because that sorry fucking tight end who's done nothing all season, 84, Griffin, that guy's terrible. But he comes up short of the first down, and then you get a pick and bring it back to the 18, and you still don't throw it. At least give him a chance. Just throw the ball up in the end zone. And you don't even throw one time. They're tanking. I'm in. I bought in. I'm finally on the conspiracy theory.
I'm with you, man. I mean, I don't think. I think that the plan is call everything super conservative, and so it is a form of tanking. You're not really going all out to win the game. You're not taking chances. You're not. I mean, look at that beautiful pass from Justin Fields to Velus Jones. How many long passes were caught like that in the game?
One.
So, and that was it, right?
Yeah, one.
So it's like, come on, what's going on here? So I think Luke Getzey has been given some money under the table to call this this conservative game. Tooch and Nomad, what do you guys think about it? Nomad first, welcome to the show, and Tooch, welcome to Nomad. How are you, brother?
I got to sit backstage while all those making Puerto Rican jokes. You bean eating bear hugger. Where's my goddamn money?
Okay.
I need my $9.47 now.
Man, you're taking me back to junior high, man. I would walk to school and people coming up to me, let me get the change in your pocket. I'm like, all right. 15 pennies. No matter, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be on with everybody, and man, Toots is looking good over there, all furry and shit. Love to hear Dan Aguirre all the time, man. I can't wait to get this show going, man.
Yeah, well, you guys get it going. Dan Aguirre has already laid down the topic. Tooch, I'll give you the controls. You can monitor the conversation. We got the media mashup down there for you to roll.
Before we go, Aldo, want to wish you a happy anniversary, and Shorty wants to wish you a happy anniversary too.
Is he coming on tonight? I thought he was here too.
No, he's got some guests, and for the sake of his marriage, he is going to bypass tonight's show. He's got some guests, and his wife said, "Come on, don't."
Man, my ass puckers up every time I see that fucking picture.
Yeah, I don't blame you, brother. I mean, some of the worst years of our lives, and as the back-to-back coaches, it's Trestman and Fox. I mean, that was a dark period in Chicago Bears history. Oh, and then you add Matt Nagy. I almost forgot. Jesus.
I still can't decide which coach was worse, Trestman or Nagy. I'm going to go with Nagy. I think
Nagy's the worst.
More. Yeah,
Nagy's the worst, right?
Yeah. At least Trestman knows football, but he's not suited to be the head coach, but he could be a great offensive coordinator. Yes. Matt Nagy is the guy that should be cutting tape for you, and that's it.
Bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
He should be an intern, not getting paid.
All right, listen to what Chubbs is saying. He thinks it's hilarious that as a fan base, we are like, well, we lost to the Bills by double digits. We must have been tanking. No Pettis was our number one wide receiver, and he can't catch. I get what he's saying. He is saying there was no talent. This wasn't about tanking. This was about there not being any talent on the football field.
What about Kmet? You couldn't put Kmet out through a wide and throw a fade route?
Exactly. The play calling, Chubbs, makes you suspect. I'm not saying there was real tanking, but it makes you suspect things that, what the fuck is going on here? I tweeted out, does Luke Getsy really want to win? Because the play calling was abominable. What do you think, Nomad?
Man, it's pretty clear. Let me tell you guys something. Football players do not tank. They do not tank. Coaches and GMs can cleverly come up with a strategy to make it seem like they're being competitive, and they're being vanilla as hell in the play call. It's just the truth. They know what they're doing. They know the position that they have is valuable, whether they want to make that pick or not. They know the position is valuable, and why not use your assets the way you – I mean, it's pretty clear that they're not being aggressive in serious parts of the game. That's just clear. So we understand each other. They are not – the play calling is telling you that they are not trying hard enough to win, period.
There you go. He said it a lot better than I said, and that's exactly what I'm thinking. Tooch, what are your feelings about this whole tanking thing?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, we have to give some credit to Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator of the Bills, who had a great game plan. The Bills have always been pretty good at stopping running quarterbacks. You know, thinking back to their games against the Ravens and Lamar Jackson these past few years. And while I agree with Nomad, I can't disagree with Nomad regarding the vanilla play calling and whatnot. And maybe are those commands coming down from on high, a sinister plan of Ryan Poles or whatnot. But the main signal would be, you know, putting Justin Fields on ice for the rest of the season. They haven't done that yet.
Plus, everybody's dick small as a fucking cocktail weenie. Man, it's cold as fuck out there, and you have to consider the weather. The ball is moving all over the place in the air. And even when they're hiking the ball, that ball is all over the place. So you are limited, number one, by what you can call in a game like that. You consider your personnel, the weather conditions. I played in weather like that, and I said it on last night's show. It is the worst. And I think the worst part about all of it is going in at halftime and trying to come back out there and rekindling what you had going on the first, because it's so nice in that locker room, and then you go back out there into that bristling cold. It's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. So considering the conditions, and yes, we are not trying hard enough to win a game, late in games. So, I mean, it's not that hard to tell when you're a football player. You can see this shit.
There you go.
If I could just reference an old game again, I'm still like not over the 88 NFC Championship game when Montana comes in, because again, there's no Richard Dent, and he's throwing for 400 yards in the cold with the wind chill minus 20 against the Bears' vaunted defense. Now, granted, it was missing Dent, which was a big deal. But if Montana could do that for 400 yards in the NFC Championship in a game that's even colder than Saturday, then I still think that Justin Fields could throw one to N'Keal Harry or Cole Kmet in the end zone. At least just take one shot. Again, that's not too much to ask, especially from the 20-yard line.
The proof is there with the completion to Velus Jones. I mean, yeah, I understand what Nomad is saying, that the wind is going to play tricks with the ball, but still, he made a completion on the one sole attempt, but the ball was in the air for 20-plus yards. It was a completion, and so why not do it again? Why not do it a third time? And if you do it 3 times and you're 1 for 3, that's still a good percentage. But the fact that you hit it on your first shot, should have done it multiple times. That's why the quarterback is in there. That's why you want him playing these last meaningless games on the schedule so that he can improve his passing game. So,
anybody in here ever played with in freezing cold temperatures and grabbed a ice cold football?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, not padded up and stuff, but I fucking played in 10 below weather, sandlot football, tackle sandlot football.
Yeah, me too.
That motherfucker is slick as snot. And I could tell you the prime example of how slick that ball is you go back to that Dante Pettis miss, that catch he missed, and he used his arm. That's one thing I don't like about Dante Pettis is he's not a natural hands catcher. He's a body catcher, and he let that, and he had on clothes under his uniform, so he had on sleeves. So that ball just slicked right through his fucking arms because that ball is absolutely slick, man. You'd rather play with a cold, wet ball than a frozen ball on the football field. It's just much easier to handle.
Well, I wish I could stick around a little longer, but I'm going to go upstairs to the party. You guys have a great time. I'll try to join you later in the show. And Tooch Media Mashups is ready whenever you guys are ready. Have fun. And I'll talk to you later. And everyone who has wished me good wishes on my anniversary, thank you very much. Don and I appreciate it very much. Talk to you guys later.
Good luck tonight having fun, if you know what I'm saying.
I didn't know what you're saying.
You don't want to be a disappointment to yourself or to her.
Okay.
All
no
right.
pressure.
Here we
I
go.
saw Mrs. Don Deere. I better not catch her ass
Not
on
that
payday.
layout. What the heck? All right. So we'll go with the 3 like this. Probably looks the best. All right. So roll the media mashup and a little discussion afterwards. Danny, what do you say?
Hey, let's go.
All right.
I thought Matt Eberflus had a good day yesterday with you guys out at Hallis Hall in saying that absolutely no doubt about it, Justin Fields will play the final 2 games. None of this shutting him down for the last 2 games. Were you surprised by that answer from Matt Eberflus?
I'm surprised it's a question. The shut him down, rest him. The question is, hey, you told us after the game Saturday that you guys had to check out his foot at the very end of the game. Is the foot okay? Yeah, the foot's okay. And then you go forward from there. Like, what's the shut him down thing?
Thank you.
Shut him down for what? He's got a 5-19 record as a starter. In this last game, he just eclipsed 4,000 career passing yards. He's got 2,100 yards this season. And, I get it. There's issues with this supporting cast. There's issues with how he's playing as well. They need to get better. The only way they're going to get better is playing games. Honest to goodness, like the shut him down crowd, I can't even begin to imagine how they arrive at that idea. It just blows my mind.
Same. I mean, you can't have this season where we're all jumping up and down, Bears fans are, about the development that has occurred with Justin Fields, and then when it's shut him down season in the NFL, people are like, yeah, shut him down. It's preposterous, Biggs, and I'm so glad that you agree.
Yeah, roll him out there, see what he can do in a couple of division games. See what he can. He had a big game against the Lions in the initial meeting. What can he do? They kind of changed up their offensive identity a little bit after the first encounter with the Vikings back in, I want to say it was the second weekend in October. How does he look against a Vikings team that could be playing to win? A Vikings team that could be playing to try to tie a bow on that number 2 seed in the NFC, which isn't worth what it used to be. It used to be a first-round bye, but that would get you a home field advantage until you potentially have to go and play the Eagles. So the 49ers and the Vikings in the mix for that number 2 seed, again, not nearly as valuable as it used to be, but the Vikings may be going for that.
Yeah, Bigsy, and two pass defenses that, Justin Fields may be able to get to regardless of supporting cast, neither of which are super strong against the pass. But if you're a Bears fan watching this, hey, you want to see Fields in division games, in games that matter for these teams fighting for playoff spots, trying to execute a passing offense, trying to show improvement.
Yeah, and I think everybody's understanding of what he's working with, especially at wide receiver. This past week, when no Mooney, no Claypool, Equinemius St. Brown is out, we get it. It's suboptimal, but what can they go out and accomplish? So we'll see. It's an interesting game because Detroit has been a much better team since the first encounter with the Bears, but man, a head-scratching loss for the Lions with big playoff implications to go into Carolina and just get steamrolled in that fashion is a bit of a head scratcher as well.
And he said at the post-game press conference, Justin did, that he couldn't put full weight on his foot, but he would be good to go. He also said he re-aggravated the non-throwing shoulder that was injured a few weeks ago. Matt Eberflus, absolutely not. He's healthy. He's ready to go this week because we've got to get better is why. We want to improve. We want to see where we are. These last 2 games matter. They're opponents in the division to us. Very important for our football team to try and win. Okay, you can stop with the coach speak. You're smarter than that. If you get the number 1 pick and you're right there, even the number 2 pick, you're going to get a lot of phone calls that could change the long-term outlook of your football club. Coach, I appreciate that we're trying to win and the game's met. You better not win either of these last 2 games. That would be typical Bears idiocy. You're smarter than that.
Coach Dave Wanstead is here in studio with me. I'm David Cabell. Coach, I think he's out of his mind playing that kid. There's no way I'd play him. If you were in his shoes, and you were at one point, what would you do?
I would play him too.
Can we pause
as long
this?
as he is 100% healthy. And that surprised me, that comment, not what he said, but that he said Justin was ready to go, because when we sat here in the after show and watched Justin's post game, he said was having problems walking, right? I mean,
couldn't put full weight on it.
Put the foot, and I'm thinking, okay, he comes in the next day, it's swollen a little bit, and now it's treatment, it's ice, and there's a way out. Now you just say you're hurt, but I know where Matt's coming from, Coach Eberflus, and how you going to walk in and you're going to tell David Montgomery, let's go, you better be ready to go. Cole Kmet, buckle it up, man, get in there and get some extra tape on Detroit. Justin, we're going to hold you this week. That's not good for your football team, particularly when you got a young team, like he said, and a new staff, and you're still trying to learn every week. So I get where he's coming from. But I do think if Justin was hurt a little bit, you do have a way out.
So I look at it as I need him ready for OTAs for all the new players that are going to be here, whether that's the draft picks or free agents. And a lot of the guys on this roster right now, no disrespect to them, are not going to be part of this team when they're winning. So what are you really gaining?
You're giving each player. I mean, I wouldn't even mention I hear what he's saying with it's a division game and all that, but the real key to motivating players in this situation is telling them, you know what, you've got an unbelievable opportunity. And when we sit down and we're going to be making a decision, you're offensive tackle for us, and we're going to be looking at tackles in free agency, and we're going to be looking at tackles in the draft, and how are they going to compare to your game? So you got 2 games to really impress, not just us, but the rest of the NFL. And so
how did you view that Bears loss on Saturday?
Yeah, Grody, going back through it this morning, it was ugly. They were dominated up front on both sides of the ball, got nothing really established offensively after that first drive when they went down the field for a touchdown. Justin did nothing as a runner. They couldn't stop the run. And it was just, I don't know, of all the games that we've watched during this losing streak, this one had a level of discouragement to me, and I understand that there's context in terms of who was actually playing and who was missing, but they're just fundamentally they were not sound, and they got their doors blown off late by a team that's going to contend for a Super Bowl later.
And Dan, you were pretty blunt on Twitter this morning. I had it flagged. You actually kind of just started that thought, but really looking at the future and for the Bears to be playing meaningful football, you wrote the Bears will have to be almost perfect in their personnel acquisitions with a surplus of key developmental breakthroughs, and also have some luck. So, I mean, it's a tall task. We knew that, but you obviously saw a big hill to climb after watching the film.
Yeah, well, and look, I've seen a big hill to climb most of this season. Preceding that tweet, I tweeted something out that said that at this point, the Bears can't stop the run, can't rush the passer, struggle to protect their quarterback, and have the league's worst passing attack.
Outside of that, everything's great.
Also, their 4-game offensive eruption was 5 games ago now. Right. And I know it was really intoxicating, that stretch where they scored, basically at 30 or above for 4 straight games. Well, Justin's last 4 starts, they've averaged 19 a game. So you're right back to an offense that's just kind of, trying to find its way still, and looking for answers, and looking for playmakers, and looking for difference makers, and looking for guys who can protect the quarterback. And it's just, there are so many needs. And that is where I think it can be really enticing to look at draft capital and be picking really high in the first round, obviously not the second round, and have a lot of money to spend in free agency, and just think that you're just going to be able to address all these needs in one big sweep. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. And you talk to people around the league, and they say if the Bears could add, 6 quality contributors this offseason, like 6 guys who could be meaningful contributors to your next championship relevant team, it would be a major win. And they need about 12 to 15, right? And so it's going to just be a really demanding offseason, and they're going to have to be really, really good at it.
To the other side, Braxton Jones seemingly had a really good game. I know Pro Football Focus liked his game a lot. Amidst everything that had gone on with the Bills, Braxton seemed to play well.
I was going to put you on the spot. You mentioned Pro Football Focus here, Speaks. 58 eligible tackles. Guess where Braxton Jones ranks in terms of grades this season overall?
The whole
Overall,
season? Of 58 eligible tackles. In the 20s?
He is 16th.
Wow.
And out of the rookies, and think about that, 6 rookie tackles taken in the first round last year, he's number 1. He has played well for a 5th-round pick. Look, and now I can put the context out there. Pro Football Focus, a lot of talent evaluators will kind of brush it aside because, especially on the offensive line, they don't understand in terms of what specific blocking assignment goes to a player, and the grades can kind of be impacted. But you got to take this for what you see here. This is a really good sign of growth for Braxton Jones, and it's clear in the grades here. Like, there's a lot of belief in what he can be. And there's a lot of belief in Braxton Jones for his own part. And think about this now. This kid's a rookie 5th-round pick, played at Southern Utah last year.
Hey, he was 2-time all Big Sky
There we
first
go.
team. Two-time.
Yeah.
Cumulus cloud.
I think back to what Ryan Poles and the scouts said when they drafted Braxton Jones in late April, and said they thought back to their first weekend really evaluating at the Senior Bowl. They saw him going up against guys from Alabama and Oklahoma and these big power programs, and he was holding his own. A guy out of Southern Utah, and he's really held his own this entire rookie season. So Jones was asked about kind of looking beyond these final 2 games towards next season and towards the offseason and what he wants to accomplish. And I really appreciate his candor here. He said he wants to see himself as that long-term guy. Here he is in his own words, Braxton Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no person to just, put myself and say that I'm for sure, that guy or anything, because that's not my decision to make. But I want to be that guy. I want to put in the work in the off season too, as well, to be that guy and a cornerstone for this organization. I feel like obviously I got a lot of work to do, but just personally and the way I try and act around the building, I want to be here as long as possible, and I feel like I could be a cornerstone for that left tackle position. So I definitely think I do got to get obviously a lot better in certain situations. That bull rush obviously has got to clean up, and that just comes with consistency, pad level, and technique and stuff like that.
So interesting. Yeah, bull rush, strength overall. Man has to work to get stronger. They love that he's fleet of foot. They love his brain. They love his character. He's saying it's a technique on the bull rush, but it's also just pure strength, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, exactly. He's got to really strengthen up in this offseason. You'll hear from any rookie when you talk to them about just what a whirlwind is their first year in the league, going from draft training for the combine, all that, so you jump into rookie minicamp, and you really don't have much time to take a breath and kind of focus on what you want to do. So Braxton Jones will go into this offseason kind of focusing on being that guy, being that cornerstone, and he knows the goals. I really have appreciated hearing from him throughout the course of the season and how honest and open he is about what he needs to improve on. And you heard it there. He's telling you he needs to get stronger and be able to handle these one-on-ones a little bit better. But look, this kid's been ascending throughout the course of the season. You like what you've seen of him. It's important now as Ryan Poles evaluates what he wants to do and takes inventory on this offensive line. You're going to have the chance to draft some guys at the top of that draft next year. But maybe Braxton Jones, you feel good about him, giving him another shot going in as that starting left tackle next season.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and I want to lay out the scenario and be clear about this. If the Bears get the number 1 overall pick, 31 other teams know they're not taking a quarterback. So trying to trade out of that number 1 overall pick, I don't know if you're going to get the same sort of haul. I mean, you'd get a good return, but it's not like they can fleece anybody with this because everybody knows they're not taking a quarterback, which if somebody wants to trade up to go get Bryce Young, they can, or they can wait till 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, because the Bears are probably taking Jalen Carter at that spot if they end up staying at number 1, if they can't get the return that they want. So, I mean, we saw this a couple of years ago when San Francisco fleeced the Bears for the Mitchell Trubisky trade because we all knew that, and I was covering the 49ers at that time. We knew they were not taking a quarterback. We knew they were taking Solomon Thomas. So, I mean, I could see a very similar scenario playing out if the Bears did get the number 1 overall pick because everybody knows they're set at the quarterback spot. It's not like they jump up to 1 and get their guy. They already have their guy.
Well, Corny, the one thing that I would push back on is wouldn't some team, let's say Bryce Young is the coveted prize in this draft. Couldn't some team want to jump the Texans if that's who the Texans wanted, and they want Bryce Young so bad they'll pony up because they want Bryce Young so they can get ahead of the Texans?
I mean, that's always a possibility, Tyler, but I just don't think if the Bears ended up at the number 1 spot, they will have leverage, but I just don't think it's going to be this insane leverage, franchise-altering, the amount of first-round draft picks you're going to get back in return for that spot, jumping up from 2 to 1, if possible. But, yeah, there are other teams. You got to look and see who's in the top 10 right now and think about how many quarterback-needy teams there are. Denver might want to, I mean, obviously they sent their pick to Seattle, and I don't know what Seattle's going to do. Are they going to try to draft a quarterback to think about the long term? Because, I mean, it certainly feels like Geno Smith has played his way into a contract, deservingly so. But what do they do at that pick? Because they're 3 or 4 right now. What does Detroit do with their pick? I mean, there are teams that are going to be in the market for quarterbacks. Crazy. The good thing about this the next couple months, we have, post bowl game season where it's the Senior Bowl, it's the Shrine Bowl, it's the East-West, all that stuff where you're going to see guys' stocks rise and fall. And for quarterbacks with pro days coming up and all of that, you're going to see jockeying of positioning. So right now, yeah, Bryce Young is the coveted prize, and anybody in the top 5 is going to want to take him. But will that remain the case? Will there be somebody else? Will that potentially put more weight on the quarterback spot where there's 1 or 2 that could go in the top 3, 4, or 5 picks that would maybe teams would be willing to not give up as much, if that makes sense, to jump up and get them. But no, it is a good point because, that's Houston's eyeing a quarterback regardless, and they can probably get them at 2. whoever they want if the Bears end up getting that number 1 overall pick. Because the bottom line is we know Chicago's not taking a quarterback. It's can they get the return that they want from that spot? And even if they're at 2, they can still trade back. But I don't know that you would necessarily want to risk missing out on a Jalen Carter or a Will Anderson if you did move out of that spot.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, I'm feeling frantic with the dead air, so I come in immediately. First off, it feels good to for the Bears to be in the running for first pick. I mean, not necessarily the first pick of the draft, but just think, you traded your 2 first-round picks for Khalil Mack, and then the Fields trade with the Giants. So it's just like in so many recent seasons, the Bears weren't even a contender in the first round, regardless of the record. So it just feels good there. I disagree with Cap. If you can knock Detroit out of the playoffs Sunday, you do it, man. We did that in 2000 on Christmas Eve, with a 54-yard field goal from Paul Ettinger to knock them out of the playoffs when all they had to do was beat the sorry-ass Bears to make the playoffs, and they just assumed that they were going to be there, and the Bears won with the completion by Cade McNown in his last pass as a Bear, setting up the field goal, and we knocked them out of the playoffs, and it felt fucking great. And then the same thing, if you can hurt Minnesota and make their asses play in the wild card round, then fuck you, do it, man. Nomad, come on.
Man, you know what, Dan, and feel free to interrupt me, because what I'm about to say is something that's been bothering me for a while. I don't like Cap. I do not like Dan Weirderer. Cap, for reasons that I think he's gotten a fat head. I think he's and from reports he's been credited from negative press reports and running guys out of town, whether it be player, whether it be coaches, and he's feeling himself. That energy he has around looking at the camera and telling the coach, "You better not do this." Did you see that, or is it just me? Did you notice that?
I did notice him look into the camera. Yeah,
it's. He thinks he has the weight of Chicago to be able to tell a coach or a general manager what they better and better not do. I don't like that, man. You're nobody, dude. You don't play no fucking football. You don't tell anybody what the fuck they should or shouldn't do. He's feeling himself, and I don't like it. He's got a fucking big mouth and he don't know shit. But otherwise, Weirderer, man, that dude is a troll. I don't know where he's from. Where's he from, man? Because he does not like it here. He does not like it here, and he realizes he's a troll, and he can stick it to the Bears fan base, and he's like taking a sharp pencil to people's eye, and he's liking it, and I just don't like.
I'm liking you right now. I agree with you. Like I've said it before, Weeder feels like. I asked him when he was on the show that time through a pre-recorded question. It feels like he's just playing a wrestling bad guy a little bit,
It's awful, man. I don't like that guy at all, man. And wherever he's from, he should go back to fucking Tobacco Road. Sorry, Toots, go ahead.
No, I know he's not a Bears fan like growing up. I don't know exactly where he's from. I want to say he was a Vikings fan growing up, which would make a lot of sense. But I know he's not a first, Bears, home. He's not a Bears fan first.
Well, I mean, I know I get in trouble for saying that guys that haven't played football to just shut the fuck up. I've said that many times, and people have come back at me, and I respect these people who haven't played football but have watched and studied enough football to kind of know what they're talking about. That guy I don't respect. I don't give a fuck if he's played football or not. I don't respect him because his energy, he's coming at the fan base with what he's saying. He knows what he's doing. Anybody that's thinking otherwise, man, I'm not sure you're looking at that clearly. That's a motherfucker, and I don't like him.
Yeah, I agree. Weeder is a troll. And, I got to confess, Danny, I didn't listen to a lot of Cap, when I was, listening to Chicago sports radio, but I don't recall him being as fat-headed as Nomad says when I did listen to him, He does seem to have a little bit of a bigger head now, but one thing that is for certain is that Bears fandom is sort of split on, either wrapping up Justin Fields for the season, playing Justin Fields, or tanking, or trying to win all the games. And while part of me would love to knock the Lions out, just to get some good digs at Don Burr to flash up on the screen, that would make me happy enough, Danny.
I don't have a problem with Detroit in the sense that I don't hate them the way I do Green Bay. I feel sorry for Minnesota to a certain extent because they lost their 4 Super Bowls, and I know that how that would make me feel just losing the one. So I don't have so much malice toward them like I do Green Bay, but I still have a little bit of jealousy toward where they are right now. So having said that, if we could ruin their good fortunes this year, then motherfucker, let's do it. And like in the piece, somebody mentioned Fields' record, and that does have to take a toll on you to a certain extent. I mean, we've lost 11 of 12 now, 8 in a row. If they lose Sunday, it'll be an all-time losing streak for the Bears. They've tied the 2002 team with 8 consecutive losses.
Yeah.
If they lose Sunday, it'll be their 9th and a brand new record in the 103-year history of the Chicago Bears. You're the team with the most consecutive defeats. You don't want that. I don't want that. That's a horrific feeling. And if that means you draft 3rd or 4th instead of 1st, then maybe in May you say, we shouldn't have won those. But with the 2 games ahead of you right now, in my opinion, your job as a professional athlete is to try to win those games.
Yeah, no player on the team is thinking anything but going out and trying to win those games, like Nomad said. Let's just get it out in the open here with I think we know where Dan stands. Nomad, you're probably on the same side of the fence with as far as like losing out or winning, or if you lose out, are you happy we get the first round pick? Where are you sitting?
I can help anybody out there, anybody in the chat, make the argument for why to sit Justin Fields. There's every reason in the world, and everybody that's saying that, I damn sure understand your argument. However, from a coach's point of view, you're being let team morale be the baseline from where you operate. Okay, you don't want to pick a guy and say, even if he's your leader, Justin is the undisputed leader of the team. Even if he's your leader, you don't want to make him special while everybody's out there busting their ass. Let him lead this team. You not only want to send a message to 2, 1 and maybe a push playoff team, put them on their ass and send a message for next year. I could see that argument coming from the coach's point of view to be the reason why, hey, and they're in the division. So put them on their ass, dude. Put them on their ass and let the rest of the league know who the Chicago Bears are. And that argument, I feel stronger than anything. And I think that's what Eberflus is seeing right now.
Yeah, beautifully said. Because that's really the crux of it. You can see, like Nomad said, you can make a good argument on either side for sitting Justin Fields, because like I said last week, a catastrophic injury would definitely set us back another season. But I want to talk about people Danny, people have been saying, what is it, 5-19 as a starter, and people are laughing at Justin Fields' record. But I got to tell you, Dan, 12 of the Bears are 3-12. 7 of those 12 losses were by 1 score or less. If the Bears had won half of those games, we wouldn't even be talking about any of this stuff. In fact, they might be around 7-8 outside looking in. What do you think?
I agree with you, especially when you consider that the first, 10 games of that was with the bald fuck. So when you've got a coach that the scheme and the lack of knowledge, I hate to say it, but I'm not to be condescending, but when he's clearly in over his head and the whole team's got to know it tangibly, that's a good portion of Justin's first, like I said, his 10 games. But at the end of the day, we heard Dave Wannstedt in that piece too. Wani, during his run in 6 years in Chicago, I mean, like you look at the last 2, they're 4-12 and 4-12 in 97 and 98. And so many of those games were 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, etc. That they were rolled a couple of times. But my point is, no one remembers that about Dave Wanstead's run, that they were competitive, though, despite those bad records. And no one's going to give that context to Justin Fields either. At the end of the day, people are just going to look at the record. And I'm not going to say that's right or wrong, but, Bill Parcells famously said, you are what your record says it is. And you want to build up this guy's confidence, not to say he's lacking. Yeah, I think he was at times with Matt Nagy. He's been balling out a lot this year, but he still has a lot to prove with passing, as we all know. I mean, come on, man. He's the best player on the team. I mean, at some point in like 87, where if the Bulls weren't going to, they're like, we can't get past Boston, where you're going to say, well, fuck it. We don't need to let Jordan play the last month. No, actually, that did happen the year that Jordan, his second year, when they didn't want him to play. They were putting him on a clock. Remember how many minutes he could play in each game. And that ended up being the season he scored 63. My point is, you don't want to take your star player, which the Bulls did try to do. I'm defeating my own argument, and limit him, especially when he looks like he's going to be the C on his jersey next year, is going to be the leader of this team. Like, it's his team now.
I have a strong inclination to say that these next two games are going to be, they're going to come with it, because they're in the division. And we're talking about one playoff team for sure, probably a championship contender, and one real serious challenger in our division. Both of them are in our division, but I know how coaches think, and they want to send messages to teams, and we're in a position to put two teams on their asses that we're going to have to see for years, and this quarterback and that team, they're, like you said, Dan, the record is the record. You can't hide from that. They are what they are, close games or not. They are what they are. There's reason behind that and context to go with all this conversation we're having right now, but the record is the record. And at the end of the day, that coach wants to put those teams on their ass to finish out the season on a high note. I know that's what he's thinking.
Nomad.
Especially when you look at Denver firing their coach. I mean, not to say that, because we've heard how Poles is basically put over Eberflus as being like, we have the same mentality. He's the first guy I considered as coach. I mean, maybe some of that is propaganda, but nevertheless, I would think he's not going to make a move. But if you're Eberflus, maybe you think, hey, if we go out on the season starting 2-1 and finish 3-14, then maybe he would make a move. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're Eberflus, maybe you feel like you do need to win these games within the context of seeing Denver be bold and brazen enough to get rid of the coach that appeared to be leading them the wrong way. I mean, if you finish the year losing 10 straight games, I mean, it's hard to make an argument that maybe he's indisputable and should not be fired, at least from my chair anyway.
There is no doubt in my mind we have the right coach. I've been around coaches like Eberflus. Eberflus reminds me of coaches I came up being coached by. And that might sound like, okay, what does that mean, Nomad? That means I've been around bad coaches. This guy is an excellent leader. And that transitions into, when you hear this guy talking about the basics of the game, the rudiments of the game, and things like that, that clues you into what kind of coach he really is. And this dude is special. And I think we got the best coach. He's kind of like what I think of when I think of Belichick. A really basic guy who focuses on the fundamentals of the game, and he can take, lower end talent and turn him into a competitor like he's doing this year. Fucking Belichick is known for that. Taking low-end talent and turning them into competitors collectively. And that's what I see in Matt Eberflus. I have no doubt we have the right coach in place. He wants to send a message, because he's not going to let that GM go out there and say, hey, we're going to take over the North and never give it back, and not have something to stand on behind that. This dude has a plan. I'm telling you, we got the best coach, I think, in the league right now, and I know that's some big talk right there. But I think we're going to see it moving forward.
I certainly hope you're right, and I'm not contradicting you at all. I'm just saying from afar, if this weren't the Bears, if we were talking about another team, whichever team that's really bad this year, like the Texans, I love Lovie Smith, but if you told me that Lovie only won 2 games and went 2-14-1, and that they made a move, I'd be like, well, I hope they don't, but I could see that why they would with such a shitty season. Now, when you dive in deeper with the Bears, it feels like this is kind of what they expected or what they wanted, especially given the trade of Roquan and Khalil Mack. So I don't think Poles would make a move, but I'm just saying on its face, if you create the longest losing streak in the history of 103, a team that's been around for 103 years, you can't just be like, oh, there's no reason to fear here. At least if that were my seat, I would feel slightly on edge about it. And I would feel more comfortable if I came back and said, hey, Poles, you're the boss, and George, Mr. McCaskey, but we fucking knocked Detroit out and we put Minnesota down to the 3rd seed or maybe even the 4th seed. I doubt the 4th seed, but it still would behoove you to have something positive to close that year with, in my opinion.
No question about that. I mean, I just, maybe I'm a different kind of guy because I'm a different kind of guy, but the way everybody else is looking at this season, I am not. I knew walking into this season, they were going to have to play with a bunch of guys, and they were going to have to play with a bunch of guys that they were going to have to coach up. They got rid of the high-end talent because it's a luxury when you're in the rebuild to have high-end talent on your team. Say you're Khalil Mack, say you're Robert Quinn, say you're Roquan Smith. It's a luxury to have guys like that. But when you're a rebuilding team, you have to take what's given. And he's taken a bunch of, and people had shit to say about the draft picks. And, when you get to Valus, I guess you can say it's kind of warranted up until this week when he played his ass off. And the rest of those guys, think about it. You got Braxton Jones, a rookie left tackle, came in and started the season. You have Kyler Gordon. You have Jaquan Brisker. You have Jalen Jones. You have somebody you just received recently, Josh Blackwell. Look at what he's done with those guys. Look at what he's done. Look at what this coach has done with those guys. Jack Sanborn. Look at what he's done with those guys. You telling me that they can't go into the offseason with $145 million and find some solid key core pieces and go into the draft right behind that and draft some really seriously good talent and go into this next season and be competitive and probably push for something? Kiss my ass. Anybody that believes anything other than that, based on what they've seen so far, is bullshitting you. This team is going to be for real.
Let me ask you all something. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just the hater out here. Again, I'm rooting for Braxton Jones because he's one of us. He's one of the Bears, But hearing those statistics that they were saying in the piece, like with your vision test, your eye test, because halfway through the season, he was given, you get it, he's a rookie, but he had given up the most, hurries or sacks combined, like for the left tackle. Of all the left tackles in the league, the pressures, he was number one at surrendering them going into that Patriots game, I recall. Now, again, he was a rookie. But my question is, does he really pass the eye test as being like, oh, for sure, we know Braxton Jones is like a building block? I haven't seen it like that. But again, I'm just a fucking guy in a chair. I'm not getting paid to break down tape and to study this beyond me as a fan. So from my fan chair, I think he's okay, but my God, they're acting like he, is an all-pro for the next 10 years, and I just don't see it. Maybe he becomes that, but right now, do you all agree with that assessment of Braxton?
I think for a rookie, he's done pretty fucking good. And Greg Gabriel and Danny Shimon, barroom, talent evaluators, seem to be really high on him. So for a rookie season, I think it was pretty promising. Honestly, I'm not a judge of offensive line talent, to be honest, but you hardly hear his name called anymore. So that's always a good sign. But I want to talk about, I know both of you guys are pretty high on Eberflus, and I like Eberflus too. My worry is that, like, one of his predecessors, Lovie Smith, he's dependent on offensive, a good offensive coordinator, and I hate to, Lovie went through like a lot of offensive coordinators, I just hate for history to repeat itself, Danny.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was asking with Aldo yesterday. Not to change the subject, but it piggybacks off what you're saying. He submitted a poll on the Twitter for the bar room. It was saying, do you agree with Dan's assessment that hypothetically we should move on from Alan Williams? And I'll take that specifically what you just said with Lovie to make that bridge, is because after the 2004 season, Lovie's first, we brought that fucking guy from Casey, and every time there's a Kansas City guy, they always suck here. Always. I hope our GM breaks that consistent failure. But the offensive coordinator, Terry Shea, was fired after one season, after 2004, because he was so dreadful. And they brought in, was it Ron Turner? And then they ended up becoming Mike Martz, and so on and so on. But
Mike Tice.
Yeah, exactly. And if you told me that the Bears moved on from Alan Williams after this year, now, again, Nomad made some good points a moment ago about some of the defensive players that have, have shown out this season. But if you look at that defensive line, those four guys, and I like Watts. I think Watts reminds me of like Warren Sapp or Akeem Hicks, even with his size, and I root for him. But those four guys up front, it look like they're all flat-footed as soon as the ball is snapped. They're standing up flat-footed, and they can't get any penetration as a result of that. It's been all season long, and even when they try to blitz a linebacker or someone in the secondary, they rarely get there. So what I'm saying, the front seven, I know Jack Sanborn was playing really well statistically, but the fact that they can't get anything out of the defensive line and most of the linebackers, to me, that is a result of Alan Williams and coaching, especially when they're all flat-footed all the fucking time. You could be in middle school and your fucking offensive or your defensive line coach is not going to allow you to stand there flat-footed. He's going to take you out if you keep fucking up. So at a professional level, that's happened all season, and they've failed to make adjustments. It took seemingly all season until the Eagles game before the Bears would even blitz or had the temerity to be aggressive. And you can't make adjustments when the team is killing you with a slant the whole game. You refuse to come in tight. So some of that is on, maybe it's Eberflus, but some of that's my argument to tell Alan Williams to go fucking, find that guy from Denver and see if you all can get a coaching job somewhere as assistants. That bum that went over there to Green Bay. I just don't like Alan Williams, man.
Dan, the one thing a coach cannot do, and the coach doesn't have this, no coach has the ability to produce ability. They just don't. Yeah. Sometimes it's a matter of the situation. And I said this on the other show that I do on Bears Country Podcast. Coaches blitz. A defensive coach will blitz knowing that he has the proper guys behind him that have the proper know-how to be able to read and react to what's going on in front of them. And that's why early in the season you didn't see Alan Williams call those blitzes, because he knew they were playing with a bunch of young guys that didn't have the know-how to react with the ability. I mean, you look at a guy like Kyler Gordon, he's not the same player that he was in week 1 through 4. He's not. He's a different guy now. He's got a whole lot more swagger, and he understands what's going on around him.
Can I interrupt just 1 second? I want to ask you a question as I'm interrupting, though. I'm trying to get you off your topic or disagree with you. I agree with your premise of Kyler Gordon, but I would argue that, and again, this could be Eberflus, it could be Alan Williams. I'm not sure who's actually making this. I think part of what made Kyler Gordon's development seem a little bit stunted was the fact that they were moving him to fuck around. Just like whenever we would have, Kyle Long, you're going to play right tackle, you're going to play right guard. Cody Whitehair, you're playing center, you're playing left guard, you're playing right guard. they've put him inside on the nickel. They put him outside. You got to put him one place and let him fucking play, let him ball. Do you disagree with that? I think that is a part of the reason that Kyler struggled early on is because they were trying him in both positions.
No, I can give you particular insight on that just because I did play exactly what Kyler's doing in the same defense. The more information that he gets and the faster that he gets it, the better off he's going to be in the long run, whether it be in the slot or out on the hash. In the slot, it's a way bigger job than over there on the hash. And I can go on and on all day about the information that you get and the formations that come in front of you, the things that can be done to you in the slot versus what can happen on the hash. You have the hash, the sideline being your friend. But him learning that stuff is just all it's gonna do is just make him a whole lot better player in the future when we do have the talent up front to be able to produce the pressures that we're looking for. He's gonna be a fucking stud just because of the shit he has in his fucking computer in his head. The information that he has in his head is gonna make him a hell of a player. I'm so glad that they did all that shit to him right away. Dan, if you went and looked at Kyler week 2 or 3 and turned on last week's game and looked at his body language versus what you're looking at last week, dude is a completely different player just because of everything you just said, what they did to him. I know for a fact that you're going to get better based on your experiences, so long as you don't lose your confidence.
George?
Yeah, I mean, Gordon's a rookie. It took him a while to catch out of the NFL game, and you're seeing some good positive results. I think he's going to be a good player. Just like Brisker and Jack Sanborn will be nice pieces for the defense next year. Look, I want to get your guys' opinion on this. I mean, there's some comments in the chat room of one guy in particular. Where are you on Justin Fields, no man?
Where am I on Justin Fields?
Yeah.
I think we have a superstar on our hands, and probably a guy that's going to be on the cover of Madden in a year from now, and he's going to be I'll tell you right now, you want me to go out there on I'll put on the fucking blindfold and walk out on the plank with a cigarette. Yep. He's going to win us Super Bowls, motherfucker. I'm going to tell you that straight up right now. He's going to win us Super Bowls, like it or not. He's going to win us Super Bowls, whether he develops as a great pocket passer or not, motherfuckers. He's going to win Super Bowls one way or the other because he's a dog and he's determined.
Can you all see this comment on the screen?
Yeah, I see it. And I've got 4 Justin Fields jerseys, so that should tell you where I am on Justin Fields. And I'm hoping at the Vikings game that Aldo and I will both be representing, because I bought him a Fields jersey because, again, he was like, oh, I don't buy current players because, like, I had all those jerseys until my shitbag cousin stole so many of them. But I still have a plethora of them for sure, but he stole 15 jerseys from me. But the point being, allegedly he stole them. I don't want to, disseminate something that could be used against me in a court of law. But the point is, like, Aldo he didn't want to just get a jersey and then like regret it. Like if I had a Trubisky jersey, for example, and I did. But I went ahead and bought him the Fields jersey because it's like, dude, just buy it. Please just buy it. Because I agree. And hopefully we can both represent with our Fields jerseys against Minnesota. But the line there, the quarterback played his absolute worst in crunch time of all the games you're referring to. I can't disagree with that. As much as I love Justin, and I do think the stuff, I hope what Nomad was saying about winning a championship or multiple championships, I hope all that comes into fruition. And if you had me to put my money on it, I'm more on the positive side than the negative with that. I'm bought in to Fields, but I can't ignore like what that line says or that comment says. And there's a lot more to it than that. I know, like bad calls against the Dolphins, for instance, or fumbles from Velus Jones on punts and
teams.
Yeah, there's all these things that come into it. But at the end of the day, and it looked like he was going to lead us against Minnesota specifically in Week 5. But at the end of the day, he hasn't done that. in crunch time. And I'm not saying he's not going to get there, but Amy and Bethany McDonald, their comment at this point is definitely fair. It's fair.
Yeah, because I'm on the same side as you guys. I know that last season with the bald fuck, as Dan would put it, didn't do Justin any favors, Nomad. And this season really is kind of his rookie season to me. And learning the offense that Eberflus and Getsy chose for the Bears team this year is, by all accounts, one of the most difficult offenses to learn. So getting all the mistakes shouldn't be unexpected, Nomad. I mean, how many I don't know how many records Justin Fields can break, whether it's NFL records or team records, before some Bears fans see the promise. What do you think?
Tooch and Dan, let me know. Am I referencing me being a former player and knowing what being a former player feels like and looks like? Am I saying that too much? Because I don't want to say that too much.
Yeah, it's part of your story. I mean, like,
keep going.
I'm not going to suddenly have a little cock syndrome and be like, oh, he's got something on me. We can't acknowledge that. If that's part of your mindset and what crafts your opinion, then it's definitely relevant from my seat.
I just don't want to sound like I'm big dog and everybody or trying to be a big dog because I play football at another level. But the thing about when you do play football and you're used to what happens in a locker room and in practices, and when you're around that shit, like I am all the time, you know a dog when you see one. And just so happens that our quarterback is a dog. I mean, an absolute dog. And he's like a Pied Piper with his play. He's not just out there talking about it. He's out there showing them. And I'm telling you, that is going to carry this team a long ass way when your leader is undisputed in your locker room and everybody is more than willing to follow. This dude is going to get it done. I mean, have you noticed his determination? Anybody?
Oh, absolutely. You remember a couple of weeks ago, I think it was the Philly game, when it looked like, he's out for the rest of the day, and Peterman's in, and then again, without time to even properly come back for any quarterback, more than likely, there he was. He re-entered the game. Like so many people were suggesting that, the Bears should sit him down, as we heard in the media mashup, and he wants to play. So yeah, I see his determination. It made me sick in the Washington game when he's basically doing push-ups just to get up because he's getting his ass beaten to a fucking pulp, and he's there doing push-ups just to get off of the ground. Yeah, so yeah, he's got heart, he's got desire. He's definitely, I'm giving my seal of advocacy for Justin Fields.
But Danny, one thing we would never hear though is Justin Fields saying, I think the Bears should sit me for the rest of the last two games, right? He's never.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why we want him to play. Here's the question, though. In all honesty, even if it's a player we didn't like, or somebody I'm trying to think of somebody I really, really didn't like. Let's just say Chase Daniel. Not that I have vitriol toward Chase Daniel, but I'm just saying. But if it was have we had a quarterback with the Bears that you think would legitimately want to sit those last two games? Honestly,
nah, man. Nope. Laz is just said it all.
Jonathan Quinn.
Comments.
Would Jonathan Quinn really want to sit? I don't know. Maybe.
I think he did though. He was like, I don't want to go back out there or something.
That's what Santos would do. Santos would do. I don't want to kick the rest of the season. These kicks are becoming too hard.
We've had a lot of quarterbacks come through here. Laz just said it all, and he's got it, and that is that it he's talking about. Is indirect communication. I mean, you're not communicating that openly. You're just being it. You're being it. And Justin, my bad. Go ahead.
When was the last time we had a player on offense that could take it to the house at any time?
That's just it, man. That's it. I think we're in denial that just because we've been in suffrage for so long.
How many times did Fields take it to the house this season, man?
I don't know.
And
Man,
don't forget the one against the Vikings that was called back because of a bullshit penalty. He had another 50 or 60 yarder one against Minnesota that should have counted. Even the announcers that day were like, "Oh, that looks like I think it was Daryl Johnston. Seems like he's had like 12 Bears games this year." But he was just like, "I don't know where that one came from," you know?
Hey, I know everybody ain't as confident as me, but I think you'll soon get to my way of thinking.
Oh yeah. Nomad, can you tell me real quick how hard it is for defensive coordinators to game plan for a player like Justin Fields?
It's almost impossible.
I'm telling you, right? Come on.
In this game, in this day and age, no, it's you got 11 guys, man. You got 11 guys trying to match up against 11 guys, and if you put a spy on them, that's what every team wants to do is put a spy on them.
Yeah,
you open up an area somewhere in the middle of your defense because it's going to be a linebacker, and you open up an area in the middle of your defense, and as he gets more sophisticated, he'll learn how to manipulate that. So it's a no-win. You can't win. The better he gets, and he's going to destroy fucking teams.
The thing that like he can't do right now, and maybe it's the coaching. I don't mean like his ability. He's capable of it. The thing he hasn't shown yet on the field is what I'm trying to be more specific about, is just what Nomad was saying. If, for instance, if they have a spy and, if that were against Minnesota, look, or even Detroit, let's give Goff some credit too. He's had a 500-yard game before and has played well this season. I don't like Cousins at all, but Cousins is definitely statistically able to exploit mismatches. So if you've got Rodgers, not that they'd necessarily be putting a spy on Aaron at this point of his career, but you understand what I'm saying. If there's some kind of mismatch, you're just going to get a quick slant right there from any of these other quarterbacks, and we're just going to keep doing that until you stop it. And that's just something that Justin has been incapable of doing thus far, is just to make those easy, safe throws that like, fuck you. Okay, here's a 6-yard slant. Boom, first down. Let's keep going. The passing consistently hasn't been there, but I believe in him. And again, a lot of that's to do with his line and his wide receivers. So, but that's where he's at right now, in my opinion. He has, but it's almost like I was thinking when you were saying he's a dog and we know it. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this when I say this, but I say it anyway. I felt that Jay Cutler had the same kind of attribute, that intangible, like this guy has got the skill. And we failed Cutler, even though we got to the championship game, to surround him with wide receivers and offensive line that would, allow him to use his talents to help us to where we should have gone. I don't want that to happen to Fields. So this draft is incredibly imperative. Couple that with the free agency period. They have to hit. They have to hit, because right now we're seeing all the talent that Justin has, and we've lost 11 of 12 games. So what does it all mean if you're not winning? You got to help the kid.
Dan, you know something, man? All this is being said about Justin. Everything that has happened thus far, you have to keep in mind. I've seen a West Coast offensive playbook, and that shit, just the verbiage in it, will take you a whole fucking season to get it down, not master it and not be comfortable with it, but just to get it down, to digest it. It's
1,100 pages long.
Oh my God! So you know, Tooch. It's thick. I've seen it. And this is before everybody had a fucking iPad. I've seen the book. There's a lot of fucking verbiage in it, and you can tell the difference in Justin from week 1 to where we're at now with how comfortable he's gotten. He's starting to settle into it, and next year he's going to get a little more savvy in the way he produces in this offense. So, all the criticisms are fair, and I respect them.
No, man, we just played 2 of the best defenses in the NFL, the Eagles and the Bills. You know what I'm saying?
Again, I'm Team Justin here. Let me just point out again. But I'm on Fields' bandwagon. I feel like
I'm not talking.
I want to be construed as I'm criticizing him. I'm just trying to keep it real with you and point out the things that his detractors are saying. Some of them have validity, but I believe in the guy. I believe in the guy.
You've already said you're on Team Justin. So
there you go.
I'm talking about Bears fans who think that Fields is a bust. Like, to me, it doesn't make any sense. But let's let's not forget, like Leslie Frazier had a great game plan. They didn't let Fields get outside. They had good, two excellent linebackers in Milano and Edmonds to run him down. When the play defensive scheme called for it. So Leslie Frazier did an awesome job. 3 points in the second half, the thing
a lot of that's on the offensive side of the Bears too. I mean, look, Leslie Frazier was a Bear, so it's like I'm predisposed to liking Les Frazier, but it's not like his coaching over the years has been so like dominating. Like I feel that was sort of an aberration. Justin could play Buffalo again in 2 weeks and ball out. That had a lot to do with just the play calling and the bullshit offense, not trying to score when you're at the 18-yard line, the weather conditions. There's a lot of things, a lot of variables that added up. I think they kind of got lucky to stop him the way they did running the ball that day, but that's just my opinion.
And this brings me to the next point I wanted to bring up, and we could talk about it from a public relations standpoint as well. And that Justin said, his foot got stepped on, and he had a hard time putting weight on that toe. And he also gave away that his non-throwing shoulder was a bit sore. But I want to like if you're reading between the lines with Justin letting that slip out and Eberflus denying it, what do you think was kind of going on behind the scenes, Danny? Like, do you think Fields is maybe the communications team forgot to tell him, hey, don't talk about the injury? Flus had to cover up for it, or give me your thoughts on Justin letting that slip.
I kind of agree with what you just said. Like Justin just answering the question, being honest and forthright, and then they're like, "But come on, number one, you can't say that." So he probably said it in the moment, just telling you because he's speaking from the heart. And that's another thing. He's so much better than Trubisky.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what you asked Trubisky. He's going to say he's got to look at the tape. He's never going to give you his authentic thought at any point. He's just going to say, "Oh, I've got to look at the tape." And then if you ask him 3 days later, if you looked at the tape, he's still going to give you some programmed answer. So the fact he gave you something authentic, they probably went to him. And I mean, I'm just, I have no idea. There's no way for me to answer this, but to answer your question, I would imagine as I brainstorm that they probably told him not to do that again. Don't give.
Absolutely. Nomad, what do you think?
You remember that Dwayne Wade commercial where he's the whole commercial, the premise behind the commercial was, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked to the ground, it's how many times you get up. Remember that commercial? Everybody might not remember that, but the whole premise behind it was you get knocked down in life. It's about how many times you're going to get up, stand up, and be a leader and get back in there. I think that narrative is developing around Justin Fields, and he knows it. And he knows that, hey, okay, this happened, that may happen, but I'm good. I'll be right back out there. Don't worry about me. I think that's where his mind is at. And I don't think he wants the coaches or anybody else to think that he's not going to be able to play in the game. He wants to play in the game. So I just think that's where he's at mentally is, fuck this shit. Everybody's talking all this shit about me and thinking this or thinking that about me. I'm there for my guys. I'm there for my boys. I'm going to ride for them. And that's just his mentality.
So, Nomad, we played the Eagles and the Bills the last 2 weeks. The Bears have had a lot of injuries, and tell me a little bit about the difference in talent between the Eagles roster, the Bills roster, and the Bears roster.
I mean, Toots, quite frankly, should both of those teams not have scored 50 points against us? Technically, if you look at the roster and look at the narrative around the game and what everybody has to say, the analysts and everybody else, the writers, how come they didn't score 50 and blow us the fuck out the building?
You could argue that the Eagles kind of played down. They didn't take the game seriously, until they had to pull out the win at the end. And then first half, the Bills went into halftime down 10-6.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Tooch. So you're going to tell me with a straight face that you feel like the Eagles just played down because the game that they were in, and that's why they had
the Cowboys next week.
So you don't give any credit to the Bears.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the Bears have played teams tough. But
I think that's all there is to it. I think that's all there is to it, Tooch.
The talent level is different between those two teams in our roster.
This is a tough bunch of dudes. That's all there was to that. Those two games, they played a bunch of tough, scrappy ass dudes that wouldn't take no for an answer. And they ended up with the L, and you can't wipe that away, but they ran into a tough bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody played down to them. I think they just ran into a bunch of tough motherfuckers. And
well, I don't think they expected the Bears to be as good or as tough as you say, the Eagles.
Exactly.
Like Cliff said, the Eagles also played down against Washington. Washington's a pretty good team. I mean, they also have a shot at getting into the playoffs. The Bills' defensive line, though, against our offensive line, not conducive to victory. I had Oliver, Von Miller, those guys, that's a tough defensive line, just like the Commanders also had a tough defensive line as well.
And Fields coming back from that toe, man, like Lucas Patrick's missed the whole fucking season because of a toe.
Yeah.
And Fields is, he came back. So again, it's just, man, this guy's tough. But anyway, Nomad was about to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, but before Nomad, real quick, last week you said every team is going to be looking for the next Justin Fields. And that's why the Bears have an excellent shot to field some real quality phone calls in the draft as well. But you see Patrick Mahomes every week on Sunday, every commercial break, State Farm, Do you see the same kind of appeal for Justin Fields in a year or two?
Absolutely.
I do too.
He's got the face, he's got the personality.
Yep.
He's got everything you want in someone that you want to advertise or market. There's everything about that guy that's going to make millions and millions of dollars. But to your point about who they're looking for in the draft, and let me just throw this piece of meat out to the chat right here. Everybody's talking about probably 3 quarterbacks, right? Talking about Bryce, what's his name? Bryce Young.
Yep.
Will
CJ
Levis
Stroud and Will Levis.
CJ Stroud, right? I think they're missing the bus. Everybody.
None of them are Justin Fields. I agree.
No, but the closest thing you can get to somebody like Justin Fields that can be transcendent in a game is the guy from Florida. I think his name is Richardson. Anthony Richardson, I believe.
Anthony AR, yep.
He's the guy. He may not be the polished passer in the pocket as Justin is not, but he can fucking change the game. Can he not? With his legs and turn that fucking board over.
Yep.
That's the guy. If you miss on Anthony Richardson, you missed.
Good point. I think, Danny, if I do Bears State of Affairs, we might have some more talking points.
Well, let's hear it.
All right, let me find that growling bear that you love so much.
I love it when that bear sounds like he's coming there.
All right, hold on a minute. Where the heck is that? Okay, there it is. All right, here we go. All right, Bears State of Affairs. Week 15, I want to fly like an eagle. Week 16, 8 games the streak. That's like a Beatles reference, Danny. All right. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, Barflies. Well, the Bears' losing streak is now 8 games, and the season can't end soon enough for Bears fans. Last Sunday saw the Bears falling to the Buffalo Bills by a score of 35-13. The Bears played a great first half, leading 10-6 at halftime, only to fall apart and surrender 29 second-half points to Josh Allen and the Bills. Ex-Bear Leslie Frazier, now the Bills' defensive coordinator, had an excellent game plan for stopping Justin Fields. The Bears now have 2 games remaining, both against division foes. First, a trip to Detroit to take on a Lions team that still has an outside shot at the playoffs, which means that Don Burr will be popping his troublesome and annoying head into the barroom to do whatever it is that Don Burr does. Dan, or Don, are there no Lions podcasts? That's why I always wonder that, Danny. Aren't there any Lions podcasts? Whatever. My finger's always near the eject button. Ready your burner accounts, Don. This could get messy. Second, the Bears return home for a season finale against the Vikings, who look to wrap up their first division title since 2017. There's one big question after last Sunday's loss to the Bills. Will the Bears go number one or will they go number two? And while this season has seemed like one big pile of number two, after Texans win last Sunday, the Bears actually have a chance at the number one overall draft pick in next year's draft, something they have not had since 1947. In fact, the Bears have only selected number one overall in the draft since choosing Tom Harmon in 1941 and Bob Fenimore in 1947. That was so long ago that even the barkeeper wasn't alive yet. I know, hard to believe. Should the Bears lose their remaining two games and the Texans win one of their remaining two games, the Bears will likely own the number one overall pick in next year's draft. For the record, the Texans' last two games are home versus Jacksonville and at Indianapolis. I'd say there's a decent chance the Texans could win one of those games, and I'll tell you, it would be all up to this guy. All right. Well, Coach Lovey can come through. We'll get that number one overall draft pick. But now, while the Bears showed a lot of fight versus the Eagles and half a game's worth of fight versus the Bills, the Eagles and Bills are two of the top teams in the NFL. And again, well, it is all very encouraging and bodes well for the future. Most Bears fans are focusing on the offseason. For the most part, the Bears talk is turned toward what the Bears should do with the number one or number two overall pick. Most Bears fans would have laughed in your face if you had told them before the season that the Bears would be drafting first or second overall in 2023. Not sure any of us expected that, yet here we are. Most likely the Bears themselves didn't imagine they'd be in this spot in line for the top pick in the 2023 draft, except maybe Ryan Poles. This may have all been part of his sinister plan. And Bears fans themselves know that the team hasn't played like it. Danny Aguirre will tell you how close this team has been to having a winning record.
Yeah.
Of their 12 losses this season, 7 have been by one score, kind of like the 2021 Lions. If half of those 12 games went the other way, the Bears could be 6-9 or 7-8. However, a mixture of bad luck, injuries, poor special teams play, and a lack of overall talent to put the Bears in just this situation. Barflies may find it hard to believe, but many Bears fans want the Bears to bench Justin Fields and lose the remaining 2 games for a chance at number one pick. Should the Bears hold that number one overall pick come April 27th, 2023, there will be no shortage of teams looking to trade up to land the next Justin Fields. Right now, Mad, Bears fans' minds are swimming with the possibilities. Bearlissimo may break his personal record for mock draft simulations. Jordan Silvera may never wake again, dreaming about all the players he would draft if he were the Bears GM. Bears on Tap may break new records for YouTube views. The barkeeper might stop drinking and Dan Aguirre might stop masturbating. Okay, well, let's not go that far. One thing we do know for certain is that the Bears will not draft a quarterback. Why? Because we already have a franchise quarterback, Amy McDonald. And like I said last week, it feels so great to be able to say that franchise quarterback, actually, Nomad record-setting, home run threat, franchise quarterback. So while an 8-game losing streak isn't exactly uplifting to us Bears fans, let's look at a few positives. We have our franchise quarterback in place. Rookie left tackle Braxton Jones looks to be a cornerstone at left tackle. He started every game, played every offensive snap, and has a chance to be a foundation piece on the Bears' offensive line heading into 2023. Jalen Johnson, who unfortunately landed on IR this week with a thumb injury, looks like a shutdown corner on the Bears' defense. And rookie Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, and Jack Sanborn all look like solid defensive players with bright futures. As well, the Bears are first in the NFL in rushing offense with 179.7 yards per game. And you may not have known this, but the Bears are 7th in the NFL in third down conversion rate at 42.93%. Thank you, Justin Fields. And 10th in takeaways with 21. I bet you guys didn't know that. Those were 2 trouble spots the past few years, takeaways and third down conversion rate. that looks to be on the upswing. With a solid offseason and a few very high draft picks, the Bears can right the ship quickly in the NFC North. The Bears have one thing the other three teams do not have: a young, budding superstar quarterback, and that is Bears state of affairs.
Well done, and you're correct. I don't want to stop masturbating. I've been doing that since 1994. Why would I stop now?
That
I can remember when I was 13 that summer. Not that we need to talk about my masturbation habits, but I could be mowing my grandma's lawn and couldn't even get through the fucking lawn. I was like, I got to go in and just beat my fucking dick. I'll come and finish the fucking lawn after that. Now, I'm not like that now. Maybe I am like that now, but no, I don't think so.
Dan's right hand is bigger than a motherfucker.
It's ironic that they were teasing me earlier, and I was at dinner with my sister. She's in for the holidays, and I was telling them I got carpal tunnel or whatever, and I have to lift my hand over my head to get the blood flowing and shit again. They're like, and my brother-in-law was like, I think that's probably from where you've been beating your dick or whatever. I was like, God, I don't know him like that, but I was like, hey, maybe you're right.
We got Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, but like I said, there's some bright spots on this team, man. Third down conversion rate was so hard. A lot of that's Justin Fields converting with his legs. And if we can look at that next year, Nomad, converting third downs, that's only going to get better. We had a hard time.
Hold on, Toots, man. You can't be switching gears like that. I'm still over here laughing at Dan.
All right.
I'm sorry. That's fucking hilarious.
We need to get a picture of Kurt Cobain with a right arm like twice the size of the left
but Kurt
arm.
was left-handed though. So
right, that's right. Yeah.
Kurt's going to use his left to beat off.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing Dan. I'm just picturing Dan with a big ass forearm. That's all. It's just cracking me up.
Dan, is mowing your grandmother's lawn a euphemism?
Oh God, no, it certainly wasn't. There was I meant like her literal grass outside. So
right. Gotcha. I knew that. Yeah, the chat room's letting you know though, man.
No, that's well played. That's well played.
Well played. Well played, J-Rock. All right, Nomad, any thoughts on Bears state of affairs?
Let me real quick. Let me ask both of you all something, and then I don't mean to interrupt Nomad, but I mean I'm opening this question to Nomad because I don't know where I stand on it. I think I want the Bears to bring back David Montgomery, and I don't think they're going to. And we mentioned Jalen Johnson. So I guess my question is, do you think in this offseason they'll give these gentlemen contract extensions? Jalen's in his third season, so next year would be his last. And David Montgomery is in the last of his original deal.
Yeah.
And moving forward, I think they need to make those. Obviously, with Montgomery, it has to be done in a couple of weeks of what they're going to do with him. But I think Jalen Johnson probably deserves a contract too. What do you all think?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead, Nomad.
I think absolutely they should consider bringing Josh Jacobs into here. Josh Jacobs brings everything that David Montgomery brings to the table, plus explosion, and we can take it to the house. He can take a 60-yarder, 70-yarder to the house. David Montgomery can't do that. He can also block and protect the quarterback. Josh Jacobs is everything you want in a running back, and he averages about 4 or 5 yards a carry. This dude is a machine. I'm telling you that right now. We can upgrade from David Montgomery. As much as we like him, as much as I would love to see him get that contract, I know that for a fact that we can upgrade. Josh Jacobs is the dude.
Isn't it ironic too that they got Jacobs because of the pick we sent them for Khalil Mack?
Say that again, man.
They drafted him as a result of the first round pick that they received from the Bears in the Khalil Mack trade. So I was saying that's ironic that it was sort of a Bears pick when Oakland got him. And if we sign him as a free agent, there's a little bit of irony there is what I'm saying. And obviously he wants out of Las Vegas.
Yeah. That being said and given, I just know at his age right now, he's right there getting ready to hit the peak of his career. And this is a perfect time to get him. I know he's had a few little injury problems, but I'm telling you right now, Josh Jacobs I have no question outside of Indianapolis's running back that he's the best all-around back in the league. the Indianapolis back is probably 1A and 1B in comparison to the two.
I agree with you. I think Jacobs, although I love David Montgomery, but I agree with your assessment. Jacobs is better. And I think if you were going to get Saquon, you're going to pay more. But I like Jacobs' game better than Barkley's too. So
I do. I like him better than Barkley myself. And as far as Jalen Johnson, what's interesting about him is I brought up an idea, a thought. You could be in a situation come draft time, and you can find yourself in a realistic situation where, some of these playoff teams or some of these teams that have, right there at the edge of the playoffs and feel like they're missing a piece or two, like a Detroit. And Detroit can feel like, okay, we're missing a defensive line piece or two, and we're definitely missing a cornerback on one side or the other. And Jalen Johnson could look like a nice chess piece come draft time. And given Eberflus's ability to be able to develop DBs and linebackers, I'm okay. I know I would feel okay if the Bears let him go in a trade of some kind to get more draft capital in some situation. I'll just do the Detroit scenario out there just for something to think about. So I'm okay with if they decide to do something with Jalen Johnson.
So what do you all think will happen then? The second part of the question being, do they re-sign Jalen? Because a part of, what you hear all the time is you have to rebuild through the draft. Well, these are our guys, our draft picks. So the secret to winning is, I'm told by everyone else, is to getting your draft picks second contracts and moving forward. So what do you think will happen? I think the Bears will let Montgomery go. I think they'll re-sign Jalen Johnson.
Go ahead, Tooch.
Man, I have no crystal ball insight into this. I mean, I love Monty as a player, but like you said, Jacobs is probably, a step above. Is he going to cost more? Sure. Does it, as some of the chat room brought up, is doesn't getting rid of Monty, that was a question. Doesn't getting rid of Monty add to our offseason needs? And the answer is probably yes. But look, Don Burr, he's here. Look at that. I told you he'd poke his head in sooner or later.
That is such a perfect trade for them, like to get the 2 first-round pick or 3, whatever it was they got for Stafford.
Yeah.
But the Rams will never say, I have a lady that I know that's been a Rams fan since Mark Bulger was there, because she went to WVU with him and became a Rams fan because of him, because she liked him and stuff. And she will never say that was a bad trade because they won their Super Bowl with Stafford. But that could be the foundation of what leads Detroit, in the next 5 years. It was a great trade for both teams.
I hate to be telling Don, dude, y'all got a pretty talented team with a lot of draft capital, high-end draft capital. They might want to play on that. I'm just telling you right now, man. They have a really pretty deep team and a lot of draft capital, and that's something to play with when it comes to draft positioning for a certain guy in the draft. So don't be surprised if they play on that, Don.
Yeah, so like I said, in Bears State Affairs, most of the talk has turned to what are the Bears going to do in the offseason, whether it's free agency or with one of the top picks. Danny Aguirre, your thoughts on some of the moves you'd like to see this offseason?
Well, Nomad's really got me on the Jacobs thing. That sounds great. Although, again, if they re-sign Montgomery, I'm not going to be upset. If I'm being completely objective with that, though, there were times early in the season that Herbert appeared to be about the same player. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had a lot of big runs early in the year, especially that Texans game where it felt like he was breaking 50-yard runs. You're like, well, Herbert could do that if he's gone. I do like David, though, but I like the Jacobs idea. And, if you told me they drafted the kid from Alabama, the edge rusher with the first pick, I mean, not necessarily the first pick in the draft, their first pick, whatever. I think they need that. They need a presence of someone that's going to get sacks, and they definitely have to work on the two lines on each side. So, and you're not going to give up a top pick to let's say Hopkins become available with the Cardinals because they're likely to fire their coach, their GM supposedly on the way out. Hopkins has got to be 30 now. So you think, maybe we could trade for him. He's a great wide receiver, but you already gave up a second-round pick for Claypool. So I don't think you're going to give up another high draft capital for another wide receiver, but that's just my opinion. So I think I'm going too far into what you're asking, but I want to see the lines rebuilt this offseason on both sides. The defensive line right now is the worst part of our team. And who would have thunk in like week 1 that offensive line wasn't going to be the worst part of the team? It's the D line.
What Eberflus is telling us every time he goes to the microphone, if you pay attention to the details, what they're looking for on offense is a fast, physical team. David Montgomery is physical, nowhere near fast. He's not what they want as far as a running back goes. He's what they want and as a personality type and the playing style, but he doesn't have everything that they want as a running back. I think Josh Jacobs is that and some. On defense, they want a long, fast team. They want length. They linebackers, everybody falls in love with Jack Sanborn. He is excellent moving forward and coming forward. We don't know what Jack Sanborn looks like when he turns his back and has to chase a ball or defend a player in the whatever. They want long guys on defense, long physical guys on defense. He's telling us every day what they want. And I believe offensively, I just don't think David Montgomery is the guy that they prefer. I think he's a guy that they like and they probably love, but he's not the guy that they prefer.
So you think he's gone too, right?
Absolutely.
I believe so too. Sentimentality, I'd like to see him re-sign, but you definitely made an eloquent case there to explain why the team would let him walk, and I believe you're right. I just hope he doesn't wind up with one of our divisional opponents, because then I'll hate him.
Nah, you ain't gonna hate him, Dan. We're gonna once a bear, always a bear, right?
No, I hate Adrian Amos now. I'm like, dude, pop your fucking Achilles tendon, you piece of shit. And he's been on the bar room before too.
You really feel that way, man?
Oh, I do. I hate him. I'm like, you fucking traitor. Every time I see him on there, it's like, you're a whore. You're a whore. How much more money did Green Bay give you than what the Bears would have given you? You're a fucking disloyal whore. That's what I say to the TV every time he picks off one of our quarterbacks' passes, which is every time we play them.
Well, I tell you right now, you're not gonna see David Montgomery is gonna go somewhere and he's gonna do well. I hope he's not in the division, but he's gonna go somewhere and he's gonna do well. But he's not gonna be a Bear, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Johnson wasn't a Bear because there's things he's a good trade bait. He's really good trade bait. He's starting to develop as a shutdown corner, and why wouldn't you use him based on what you've seen Eberflus's ability to be able to develop young DBs? Why wouldn't you use that as a piece of a chess piece? Why wouldn't you?
I think they like Jalen though. I mean, I think I could be wrong, but I think they'll give him an extension in the offseason. Not saying what you're saying is wrong and it isn't fortuitous for the team to do that. I still think at the end of the day, he gets brought back. And I'm not even sold on him as being a shutdown corner. I know he's played through some injuries this year and got really blown up. What game was it where he just got annihilated, but he was just coming back from an injury? Was it the Green Bay game in week 13? There was one game where he just was awful. So, I mean, but that, I'm just saying, I don't know if he's as good as I feel like as Bears fans, a lot of times we over love some of our players, and I'm guilty of that too. But for instance, everyone kept trying to tell me that Allen Robinson was some top 5 wide receiver. I didn't see it then. I definitely don't see it now. And another example was Roquan. Roquan's a top 3 linebacker. I don't fucking see it. And the fact that he's still belittling Poles after the trade, I mean, I'm glad this mercurial guy is gone. It just feels like all he cared about was money anyway, and he disappeared for games at a time. But my point being that we all overevaluate players. I'm afraid that maybe some Bear fans, including me, maybe have overevaluated Jalen Johnson.
I believe, and I see people in the chat talking about the whole thing with Roquan. I believe in Roquan. I know he's a top linebacker.
A top 3, like worth $25 million a year kind of money?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad the Bears didn't give him that.
Yeah. I mean, linebacker, it's hard to think about paying a linebacker that much money, but Roquan is a transcendent player. He's going to make plays when you need those plays made in a tough situation. It's just in his DNA. I'm not saying that the Bears should have paid Roquan $25 million. Hell no. Come in the neighborhood 17, 18, 19 million dollars. I'm fine with it. But I hate counting people's money, man, because I got too many friends that are out there playing that game or coaching it. I know I'm wrong by saying this stuff, but I stand behind Roquan being one of those top linebackers in the league. And also Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson just fell into a bad situation, I believe, and it was just going the wrong way when he got there.
Well, we can respectfully disagree on Allen for sure, because I mean, even when they had Stafford earlier this year, it's not like he was doing shit with the Rams, and everyone was telling, "Oh, wait till you see what he does with the Rams." Nothing. He's doing nothing with the Rams. But well, he wasn't earlier in the year. But again, it's not worthy of even a strong disagreement on that. But the thing I wish I could attribute the author, but someone did a piece a week or two ago on NBC Sports Chicago and was reporting the Roquan stuff. And according to the report, and I wish I could remember who wrote this piece, and I'm not making this up, but I will just say it's a paraphrase. But the gist of it was that Poles was like, oh, okay, when we beat New England, and was kind of like, well, let's go for it. And that's when he traded for Claypool. But he was so disheartened by the loss in Dallas and the lack of effort from Roquan, and seeing that he's just fucking there, not doing shit. I mean, when they're getting steamrolled and he's just kind of disappearing, that he was like, fuck it, I'm trading this guy. Couple that with the fact they didn't like each other anyway. But the reporting was basically saying that he wasn't going to trade him until Dallas, when he just, he just kind of was there. For me, he had a great game against the Patriots and a great game against the Texans. And every other game, he was just kind of a guy this year. He's just sort of there. Not really making much of an impact.
It's about what way of thinking you want to believe, because it could have been two narratives going on there. You say that maybe you heard that okay, Post was okay with keeping him until the Dallas game. Maybe Roquan and his people may have heard, hey, you on the trading block, and they're pretty sure that you're gonna get moved. Maybe that was Roquan's reaction to hearing that. We don't know. It's all
that's a fair point. That's definitely a fair point.
Look who decided to drop by.
Hey, motherfucker.
What's up, you jive-ass turkeys?
It's Mark Tressman.
That's fucking.
No, I'm kidding.
The fucking pervert just arrived.
It's Dan Tressman over here, guys. How you guys doing, man?
Oh, yeah. Good,
I'm glad you're here. I was pissed off that you weren't here. I was like, God damn it. It's supposed to be Dan and Nomad joining us full time. Everyone was going to have the big, and then Dan's not here with the other Dan.
I'm sorry, guys. I had a dinner party as well, so I to avoid being in trouble with the wife, I thought it'd be a good time to put the podcast shit aside for one night and just try to have fun with my wife and my friends, our friends, and we had a great night. And
that's what Roquan said in that Vikings game in 2019. I'm just going to take this week off and hang out with the friends.
Fuck you, man.
What did I miss, guys?
Go eat your nutty fruitcake, motherfucker. Get out.
I would love to know what I have missed so far. Can you just give me a summary of what the discussion has been?
J2K got upset because I didn't hear someone wanted to trade Jalen Johnson.
Wait. What now?
No, I think not to speak for Nomad. I think Nomad was suggesting that he's a piece that you could potentially trade. I don't think he was saying to trade him.
Okay, because I actually kind of like.
He got upset because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
What
Well,
happened?
you did mention that on last night's show, Nomad, that he could possibly be a trade piece come draft day because of the development of the other cornerbacks that we have. You know,
Well, Dan, let me
Jalen
ask you
Johnson.
this. Dan, if you don't mind, let me ask you this, because this is what
Please.
we were talking about the last 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I asked, what do you think the Bears will do with Montgomery and Jalen Johnson? Because Jalen's 3 years into his rookie deal, so next year they've got him for one more year. It's sort of a lame duck year. Do they re-sign him in the offseason? I was suggesting that they will. And do they let Montgomery walk? I was saying, and Nomad agreed with me, that the Bears will let him leave. I don't necessarily want that, but Nomad's got me sold on Josh Jacobs, though. But anyway, I'm just curious what your opinion is on the two players.
Well, I agree with you on both of you on those aspects. I think that they will let Monty go. I don't necessarily agree that that's the right decision, but I think it's going to come down to money, and they're going to have to let him walk. Jalen Johnson, I'm not so sure about. I think they're going to probably keep him in the breadbasket next year. They're going to re-sign him. I would agree with you guys on that. And I know that I've heard Nomad say...
Shorty, wait a minute. Before you jump to that conclusion, what do you think the price tag will be?
Oh, that's... Wait, for Jalen Johnson?
Right.
Ooh. What's the going market? Did you talk about the going market of the current quarterback
I don't know,
situation?
but I'm just... And that's going to be the key.
So I was kind of popping in here and there when we had our guests over. So I kind of caught some bits and pieces. Is that what we were talking about when you're talking about 20 million plus for Jalen Johnson?
Is he out of contract? I wasn't aware he was out of contract.
If it's 20 million, we in trouble, man. We're keeping him.
Well, no, I was asking you. Did you have a number that you were talking about?
I don't even know the going rate for. We talking about a guy that's a Bremen shutdown corner. I don't know the going rate for him, but I guess you're probably in the neighborhood.
I don't know about that. That kind of comes down to like the Roquan thing, right? Do you want to pay 20 plus million for Roquan? Do you want to pay whatever 20 plus million for Jalen Johnson? I'm not sure about that, guys.
It's a tricky conversation. It's a double-edged sword because it gets back into the whole conversation about Roquan and what the market value is for Roquan versus what he thinks he's worth.
Like you talked about last night as a possible trade bait on draft day because of what you might have to pay him, what he's going to want in the current market, right? So what is the market with cornerbacks that are coming into free agency is the first question. What's the value of those cornerbacks is the next question. And then the third one is Jalen Johnson, does he fall in that category? And if I had to just like pick and choose in my brain right now without doing any research, I would say I'm not sure. It seems like he's on that kind of cusp range where you're like, I'm not sure if I want to pay that for him because we have seen the development of, Jalen Jones on the team now. He's played really well as a rookie. We have, what's his name? Is it Blackson or Blackwell has played really well. Blackwell has played really well. So I don't know. I mean, I think coaching has a lot to do with this, and you might be able to get something out of what you have on the team for the future already based on the coaching.
I'm pretty sure Johnson considers himself somebody in the ilk of, let's say, Jalen Ramsey, a shutdown corner. You can't tell me that he doesn't see himself as that. That's the kind of waters we're getting ready to start treading into. And when we're talking about, throwing out contracts and what people are worth and, what the GM versus the player thinks that they're worth, there's a conversation that's going to be had. So it's inevitable that it's going to be a little problem there.
I think
I kind of like what Cliff says there.
Well, I think the question the Bears are going to have to decide is, do you maybe try to sign him this offseason at a lower price or let him prove?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Maybe they re-sign him now before he becomes a free agent, and it's a kind of a deal that's friendly to the team, but maybe give him a large signing bonus that changes his fucking.
It's up to him to sign it.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, but if you offer him a signing bonus, for example, that would change his whole fucking life, it's hard to turn down like a massive amount of money at once. But you could do that, structure the deal in such a way that it doesn't hurt the team in terms of the salary cap moving forward. It could be a win on both sides. But I also agree with Cliff. Yeah. I don't think he's proven that he's a shutdown corner. Again, I've seen him beat and I've seen him hurt a lot, but I still like him and I like his potential.
Okay.
Well, here's kind of the last game was kind of.
Hold on 1 second. Who do you consider to be a shutdown corner in the league?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Ramsey a moment ago. I think Ramsey's definitely a better player. But I mean, am I saying we should try to go get him? I mean, how much older is he? You know, he's probably 3-4 years older. So I like the idea of winning with your draft picks. So I'd like for him to turn into a shutdown corner. I'm not avoiding your question. I don't maybe I don't know the answer to it, but I don't think that he's a number one undisputed across the board. It's he's the top corner.
Okay,
maybe I don't know.
We've seen him in the first couple of years in the league that he has been on the Bears. He has been the player that we have counted on the most on the defense. As one of our defensive backs. He's been the one guy that we have relied on that we can know that's going to shut that receiver down. And he has done that respectably for the first couple of years. Now he's been transitioning into a new defense, and he has had his moments here and there because he's playing in a more of, the zone defense, different to the 3-4. I think that it took him a little bit of time, and he's been playing admirably well in this defense. So I guess the question comes down to, do you think he still fits the scheme well enough moving forward that you're going to want to pay him that money? It kind of went back to the Roquan question. Do you want to pay Roquan all this money for a position he hasn't played yet to not really know what you have in that position? And I think that they saw enough, and that's why they made the trade. And hence you see Jack Sanborn coming in and playing well. So different position, but Jalen Johnson going from a 3-4 to a 4-3, do you guys feel, this is the main question that everyone has to ask in their heads, does he fit that system? Is the answer yes or no? Has he fit it so far?
I think it's going to come down to, I think Dan he was definitely on the scent, right? With trying to get him on an extension. He's definitely on the scent there. How long does that extension last, and how much of it is guaranteed? And how does he have some kind of clause in it that can get him out of, he probably wants to become a free agent and play himself in the position to where he can get that large money. I think Dan is definitely on the right scent, trying to get him signed up, get him that extension, but give him a clause to where you can earn yourself that huge contract that he's looking for.
I'm right there with you. I agree.
Yeah, the
Don Burr. I gotta say, can I just jump in here really quick, because I have to say, Don Burr, I appreciate you as a Lions fan. I appreciate everything that you have, been putting out there as a Lions fan. No, I'm kissing his ass for a second. I'm almost done, and I appreciate what the Lions have done this year. And I just want to know, Don Burr, when are you coming on the show so we can talk to you? Because this guy has some good shit to say. We got to get him on. We have to get him on here. Come on, Don.
There must not be a Lions podcast, because why is he always hanging out with us?
There's like one. That's why he is. So come on, Don. Come on and speak your mind on the barroom and tell us what you think, man. We're not going to shit on you. That's all.
Here's a question for Don, if he's still in the chat room. I'm just curious from a Lions perspective. For no sarcasm here at all, Don, if you're listening. Like from my seat, the Packers are the team I hate. I said this earlier. I kind of don't hate Minnesota. I kind of don't hate Detroit. I will sort of root for us to beat them the next 2 weeks to sort of just be an asshole and knock them out. Yeah, but I don't have malice toward them. If you told me Detroit made the playoffs, I wouldn't be like just mad. If you told me Green Bay is going to win out and make it, I'm going to be like, fuck. So from a Lions perspective, are the Bears really the team you hate, or is it Green Bay, or is it Minnesota? Like, I'm just curious.
I can't believe he hates the Bears, like you were just saying. You spoke that so eloquently. I think he's on here because he has the same kind of feelings that we do as Bears fans about the rest of the NFC North. And he kind of gets to come on here because A, there is really no other Detroit Lions podcast, and B, he gets to kind of, he kind of soaks up the same shit that we're putting out, as he sees it from his own perspective. And that's why I'm saying it would be a great idea for you, Don, to come on the Barroom Network, talk to us, just give us some of your perspective. We'd like to hear it. I promise you we all would. We wouldn't be assholes. Would you, Tooch?
You know what, man?
Welcome
Fuck
anytime.
all that shit with Don, man. Listen, he'll come on. Don do what the fuck he want to do when he want to do it, and that's just the way that's just gonna be. If he wants to come on the show, he'll come on the show.
He did kind of fuck Cliff over earlier this season when he was supposed to be on Bears Country.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's what Cliff gets.
And I went on Bears Country and made my own parody interview with me and Don that wasn't Don, and we had a good laugh about it. I know he liked it, so it's all good fun. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Shut down corners in the league. I gotta say, the Lions, Darius Slay, pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Seahawks rookie Tariq Woolen, and then that punk
Sauce Gardner.
CJG Chauncey Gardner Johnson. He's pretty fucking good, but
He's the best slot in the league.
I
The
hate
best-
that guy.
Yeah, I mean he's the dude though. He's the dude in the slot. He's the
Yes,
creme
he
de la
is.
creme
Yeah,
in the
he
slot.
is. Yep.
And right now the only shutdown corner besides Slay, it's the rookie Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I'm really picky about cornerback play.
Yeah.
And I'm
You
not
don't like
bring-
the
I'm not-
Seahawks rookie?
I love him,
Man,
but
that dude's a player.
I bring up Jalen Johnson for a reason.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with what I'm about to tell you. I see a chink in his armor.
And whose
I see
armor? Wait, whose armor?
In Jalen Johnson's armor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's talking about horizontal coverage, not vertical coverage, horizontal coverage. Him
The
being
hip
able,
movement, right?
yeah. I see a chink in his armor there. I think you can get him going across the field.
Yeah, he doesn't. He has stiff hips, right, as a corner.
No, I ain't gonna say he's got stiff hip. It's just not. I don't know if it's because he's been injured this year and he has an oblique problem. I don't know what it is, but I've noticed that over the years. So it's not just this year. So I can't blame the injury on that. But I see a chink in his armor going horizontally across the field.
Which would that's a hip thing, right? Like his hip movement doesn't allow him to like rotate left and right quick enough for him to like to get left and right going horizontally.
You can just get separation on him going across the field.
Right. That's why I kind of thought you had a good point, like an argument for him being traded on draft day for additional picks, because I feel like this Poles regime is just kind of cutthroat when it comes to picks. That they treat him like gold bars, and the more gold bars you can acquire, the more rich your team is going to be. And so if he really is going to, turn on this normal draft that we have now moving forward, because we have, most of the picks, into another 5 or 6 or 7 more picks like he did last year, like what can happen from that? I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with, if the team ends up with the first pick in the draft, it would kind of suck in a way, because we would have basically been trading away the final pick in the first round for Chase Claypool, because the Dolphins have to forfeit their first round draft pick, right? Because if we did end up with the first pick, technically we would have the 31st pick instead of the 32nd pick instead of the 33rd pick in the first round, or you know what I'm saying? So that would kind of suck. However, the amount of things we could do with that pick if we actually ended up with the first round pick, I don't see it happening, but if it did, wow, what Poles could do with that. And I'm sorry if you talked about all this already. It's just it's gotten me excited thinking of this regime.
I'm just reading the chat, and this is off subject of what you just got through saying. Somebody in there just said that, somebody thought that Jalen Johnson looked a little bulky this year. I noticed the same thing. He's definitely thickened up. And does that
Do you
have
think
any?
Roquan was a little chubby when he was here?
I do.
Oh,
I do.
No, hell no.
I do. I
always thought Roquan was a little light in the ass.
I thought this year he looked chubbier and slower, for sure.
No.
Yeah, there were people calling him Slowquan earlier in the year.
No. I don't think size was. If anything, he needed to bulk up and be stiffer in the run game and have a little bit more ass, because that's what's required as a linebacker. You need to be able to stop the run first. And if anything, with Eberflus' style and his standards, he wanted guys to lose weight and be all muscle, right? And that's going to require somebody like Roquan Smith to be a little bit light in the ass. He was already not carrying enough weight. Roquan's not a really big guy.
But when he started to put on weight, it seemed like he had the body structure that was putting it in the wrong areas. And I feel like he was getting slower.
I agree with you. I felt like he looked like Lance Briggs in like 2014 or 13 during the Tressman years.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Not saying it's a fact, but he just I loved Lance, but the last couple of years, it just felt like, if you saw him on the street, you wouldn't be like, my God, Lance, you've gotten fat. But just in terms of a football player, he compared to where he was a couple of years before, he was just a little bit heavier or something, a little bit pudgier,
a little bit slower. Right.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Like he got progressively a little bit heavier and a little bit slower as the years went on.
It felt like he didn't give a fuck after Urlacher and Lovey were gone. Quite honestly, I think those last 2 years are going to hurt his Hall of Fame opportunities as well.
Maybe.
All right. Well, we got about 20 to 25 minutes before Dan Aguirre has to depart and save some lives.
You leaving, man?
I have to. I'm going back to both jobs tonight. I've had a good run of some time off. I did work Christmas, but point being, I come back out there on January 7th, and basically I work until then. So.
No, man, you can't be leaving. Hey, I want my fucking money, man. When you gonna pay my $9.47?
You're $9.47. What's the story behind that?
$9.47, man. I got kids to take care of, man. I need my money. You and Aldo.
I gotta say, Danny, at my job recently, the company's been kind of like, they were waffling on whether to give this week off to employees. Finally, at the last minute, they decided to give the whole week off, but not the department that I work on because we have magazine deadlines. But they did give us 3 out of the 5 days off at the content center at where I work. And I got up at 5:30, tired as an MFer, and got dressed up, drove downtown, get there. My boss is like, "What the fuck are you doing here? You're off today." I was like, God damn it. I turned around, went home, and got a bunch of errands and stuff done. But I was like, really? I'm off? I totally forgot. So
I could have slept in, man.
Hold on, Toots. I just want to hear this from the chat. I just want to ask everybody in the chat. And this is good. This is good for what we're going to do moving forward. When Toots does his gambling thing, would you guys prefer to see Tooch in a leather jacket with some jewelry on his hands, some jewelry around his neck, some jewelry in his ear, maybe a toothpick in his mouth, and a cigarette behind his ear?
He's Scott Hall now?
I got to tell you, man, I had a pretty couple good past couple days, and I came away with about $1,100, so I was feeling pretty good recently. So tonight about break even, but man, Anthony and I had a couple really good days the past couple days, man.
Look at that. Right up.
Big hit on the Chargers last night, and a big hit on the NFL on Sunday.
If I was producing this show right now, I would have literally had a little clip of a soundtrack of The Gambler to pull up for you right there.
Kenny Rogers?
Yeah. Met up with the Gambler.
James Caan made a good film called The Gambler.
Yeah.
From the mid-'70s. It's independent of the Kenny Rogers shit. I never watched that, but one with James Caan, I think, was called The Gambler.
There's also I forget the name of the movie, but Matthew McConaughey plays like
the Al Pacino movie.
Al Pacino.
The thing that hurt that
a little bit more close to reality, but
it's called like Two for the Money. I think.
Is it Two for the Money? Okay.
I think all the fake football team names and stuff really hurt that. That really made the movie less than, unfortunately.
Yeah, agree. Yep.
Wait, Cliff Victoria says I lost $1,000 this week by Ramondre and Belichick screaming.
It must be fantasy football.
Cliff, I'm going to start a GoFundMe page to buy my ass a fucking a MacBook Air, and if you could just donate $1,000 to that, Cliff, you wouldn't lose it because it would go into production.
Or get him to donate to Chris Watts's USA trip.
That's what
Cliff.
Put it in. Yeah,
that's what Cliff get for listening to Tooch, you bubble-eyed motherfucker. That's what you get for gambling.
Next time, Cliff, just take $500, put it into Cliff's
He's talking about fantasy football, though. He had
$500 for a computer.
He had a shot at the championship. I think he's talking about fantasy football.
I know. I'm just fucking with him.
Yeah.
I hope you had an awesome Christmas with you and your family, Cliff. I know his daughters were coming in. He was picking them up. He had to miss one of the shows. So I hope you had a great Christmas. I hope all of you did, by the way. I haven't talked to you since, so I hope all of you guys had a great Christmas and enjoyed your family time and whatnot. And yeah,
man, shut the fuck up. Bah humbug.
Nobody give a fuck up right now. Bah the fuck humbug.
Let's get fucking vile about it. This is part of the show.
You're just all pissed off because your back and your neck are killing you from dancing your white ass off that fucking stage last week.
Come on, Dan, help me out.
White guy pretending he can dance.
These racial conversations don't make me comfortable at all. I'll just say I grew up in a school that was like 50-50 white and black, so I have never had any problems with prejudice at all, man.
Come on, you know white man can't dance.
Oh yeah, I can't dance at all. If I ever get married again, I'm taking a fucking class, man. Our quote unquote first dance or whatever was a Jason Mraz song, and it was 7 fucking minutes. I actually joked at the wedding. I was like, now listen, I'm white, I'm 6'5". Everyone needs to turn around and not watch this. And everybody laughed, and she whispered in my ear, "You just fucking embarrassed the shit out of me." Of course, I embarrassed the shit out of her by saying that, but I thought it got over as a great joke. And if anybody saw my dancing, they knew that it was fucking putrid.
Is it time for a little?
No, there was no sex there. It was just like my lack of ability to dance.
I was wondering if we could have a story. Maybe is there any?
What happened later that night? You got blown, didn't you?
And she still fucked me.
Well, I'll just say
no recent stories.
No, not really. I'll just say that one of the things she always told her friends, which again, some people think this isn't cool and they pretend it's not something they're into. It's just like, if you're a guy and you like women, like, why would you be like, "Ooh, I don't eat pussy"? It's like, I don't want to touch a woman's body. Like, that's fucking stupid to me. But she used to tell all of her friends, like, I've never had anybody eat my pussy. Like, man, I always took that shit with like a badge of honor too. I was like, bitches, it could be you. But no, I'm married to her. So,
hey, Dan, how tall are you?
6'5".
You think you can make proper love to a small woman?
I mean, I do my best. I mean, yes, I'm 42 now, so my love making game isn't as good as it was like when Rex was quarterbacking, but I'll try.
You know what I mean by a small woman, right? I'm not trying to say the M word.
Oh, I didn't know what you mean. No, I didn't make that racially at all.
No, M, like midget.
I thought you said the N word. The shortest lady I've ever fucked for sure was 4'8". And I've fucked a couple that were 5'2". The tallest woman I ever fucked, no shit, was 6'2", and she was from Mississippi. I told this story on the air a while back when it happened with Aldo, like 2 years ago. She wanted to peg me, and I told her no. And I think she kind of didn't dig that. But she said she had been fucking women for 3-4 years because all the short guys had like little man syndrome because she was tall. She's like, because she wore heels when I met her, and she was 6'5" with her heels on. She was as tall as I was. Yeah, man. But she told me, she's like, I've been fucking women for 4 years, and I'm a girl, man. She's like, even with women, I got to wear the strap on. She's like, I'm a girl, and I want to get fucked. She's like, I want you to fuck me. I want to be dick down. And I was like, okay, I'll try. Shit. You know, like, don't put any.
I'm 6'5". I'm hanging down to my knee. Let's go, baby.
Well, it went over. It was okay, but she actually, and she defied a lot of stereotypes. She was from Mississippi, but she didn't sound country. She wasn't a redneck. She was progressive in politics, but she moved back to Mississippi. So there was that. But yeah, she was the tallest woman that I ever have been with, for sure.
You know what, man? That's one of the great regrets in my life is in Augusta, Georgia. I was on a job at a lunch break, and I was coming out of a gas station, and there was a woman coming out of a buffet that I was eyeballing. And next thing you know, there was a lady right at my waist.
Wait, hold on a second. That means you like the big girls, right?
Yeah, I could be guilty of that. I could be guilty of that. I like them short, tall, big, and small. I fuck them all.
I saw this girl coming out of the buffet. I was like, I gotta have that woman.
I don't give a fuck what they look like. If they look good to me, I'm smashing. But anyway, the small woman, man, and she was talking shit to me about something, the way I parked my car. And I'm looking at this other female, and she was just like laughing at me the whole time. I'm trying to talk to her, and she was just like, you're not even noticing, are you? I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, my homegirl. And she was she was already on her way back to the car, and she pointed her out, and it was a small woman. And I was like, what? And she turned around at that moment, and when I tell you that motherfucker was thick, that little motherfucker was thick. And you know, black guys, we like ass. We love it. We love it. And she was full of it. Anyway, make a long story short, she was walking back to the car. She got back in the car, and her friend was like, I know you trying to holler at me, but my friend really was digging you. And you didn't even pay her no attention because she's small. And I felt bad in the motherfucker. She was right there at my fucking waist. Right there. And I just ignored her because I was looking at somebody else.
She doesn't even have to get on her knees, man. Just stands right there. Hey, there was
I have a theory about why black guys like big asses. It's because
why is that?
Well, you have such, and that's another reason why black guys have such big dicks, because they love big asses, and so they have like 2 feet of ass to get through before they can hit the pussy. So just to naturally develop their dick to be 3 foot long over time, right?
The same argument can be said. Why do white guys like flat bitches? Why? What is it? What is it about that flat ass?
I gotta be. First off, let me say one thing, and I'm gonna answer that. There's a porn you all can look up. I had on VHS. I assume I still got it, unless my cousin stole that too. But I've got a VHS tape called Bridget the Midget. And like Bridget's fucking like adult-sized women and adult-sized dudes. I mean, it wasn't like so much like, oh, I'm gonna beat off to this, as much as like it was just like, I can't believe I'm watching this. You know, and then there was a sequel, Bridget Digs Chicks. So again, if you like the short people kind of thing, it's not cool to say midget anymore, that's something to check out. But I'll just say the reason that I've predominantly been with white women in my life is because of cultural differences. Like I'm sure there's black women or any other race that would love the same kind of like rock music that I do, but not where I'm from. You know, most of the black ladies I've met in my life are more into hip hop. And I don't mean to stereotype. My point is I just like women across the board, but I've been with white women more often not because they're more apt to go into like a rock show with me or something like that. So I don't have a thing for quote little asses. I like women. So
Dan need to fuck with me. He need to fuck with me and learn how to appreciate hot sauce and chitlin, motherfucker.
I don't like hot sauce. I got the fucking with the acid reflux. I don't fuck with hot sauce. But
they got pills for that, motherfucker. You be
I
all right.
like women. I like women. I don't. There's nothing about women that I usually don't like. Like I always say with breast, it could be an A cup to size. How big the fuck are those? I like every one of them in between.
Anywhere from just the nipple,
small.
right? Just the nipple.
Man, I will change the outlook of your life for the second half of your life. All you got to do is be willing to just adjust to what you see around you, man. And I've done that for so many guys that felt like you, man. And I appreciate what you just said, man. And in a way, I know that you probably really want to, but you don't know how to go about it.
Oh, you mean I've slept with black women, if that's what you're saying. I mean, I've only slept
that you haven't had.
I've slept with 3 black women, but another component of that too. And again, I don't feel comfortable saying this stuff because I don't feel that any person is a monolith or any group should be put in a box. But I will say that if I'm going to be real with you, most of the black ladies I've met are religious too. Even if they don't go to church every week, they're still like, if I tell them I'm a non-believer, that means I'm not hitting that pussy either. So
man, the black women, most black women you will run into, and especially where I'm from, is about no. You ain't gonna run into too many religious motherfuckers, man. They just
Chicago.
No. You run into you. There's a certain population of those kind of women of a certain age, but especially somebody like Dan's age, yeah, you're gonna run into that population. But
I would have been 18 saying that. Most of the black women I've met in my entire life and went to school with or anything were really religious and looked down upon me if I didn't subscribe to the same brand of Christianity, which I don't mean to say that like, oh, I'm a victim. I'm just saying that that's the reasons. But my initial point of all of this was, I don't think as a white guy that I'm like, oh, I don't like big asses. I like asses, like small, big. I like all women.
For me, Kitty was the first white woman. Kitty was the first white woman I was ever with, and I married her. So it just goes to show it doesn't matter. I'm just kidding.
Everybody I know, everybody I know like them all shapes, sizes, and colors, man. And I'm definitely that guy. I'm that guy. I don't give a fuck what you did. You can be plaid. I don't give a fuck what you look like. As long as you fine to me, I don't give a fuck what your race is. None of it don't matter to me. As long as you're sexy.
I don't want to go into a huge story because this is somewhat recent, and I feel like it's disrespectful to the women. It's like, it's one thing to tell you a story from like 5-6 years ago, but someone that's recent, I mean, fuck, man. I want to be classy too, but so she kept saying things to me like, oh, give me your white cock and all this shit, and that did make me feel awkward. It was just like, God, can we focus on the fact we're fucking? It doesn't have to be that like, oh, you're black and I'm white. What fucking who cares? Because when the lights are out, I think the lights were on that night.
All right, let's get to something.
It feels the same way,
Let's get to something, man. Let's get to something, man. Let me ask you this, and I can tell you, you can ask me the same question I'm about to ask you.
Go ahead.
What is it about a black woman that really intrigues you?
Well,
anything, any small thing.
Well, my point though, before I answer that, is to say that I don't want to.
Shut up.
But I don't want to. I don't like being. I don't want to say to her like, "Oh, give me your black pussy." You know what I mean? And I don't want to. Like, it made me feel so awkward. She kept saying like, "Give me your white dick" and stuff. I'm like, God damn, dude! It's like, quit saying like I'm white. Who cares? But
that's what I was going to say.
What do I care? Like, what? I mean, like I think black women are beautiful, just like Mexican women, Arab women. Like, I like women. There's not one specific attribute that makes me think that they're like any better or worse than any other woman. I'm not trying to give you a bullshit answer. That's like my real answer, I swear.
So beauty is beauty. It doesn't matter. There isn't one thing that makes it beautiful, like ass or lips or tits or whatever. It's just when you see it.
So if the question was flipped to me and you were to ask me,
go ahead.
I'll tell you what was the most curious thing for me. It was probably knowing what the vagina area looked like, the hairs and all that kind of shit. I'm talking about the first time, and this is out of my curiosity. What did that look like? Let's say for a blonde woman or a brunette woman, what does that look like? What's the texture? All that kind of shit was the kind of thing that intrigued me. Was it different than what I had experienced? That was the thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah, and there is a different. There's a different. I mean, I hate to again. I just feel so uncomfortable saying this, but there is a different, like you said, a different texture. Even if they just have like a landing strip, the hair feel is different from a white woman to a black lady. There's just, I mean, I'm not trying to. There's not one. It's better than the other, but
really
there's a
has to do
different
with
feel
how
to the
much hair.
touch.
Back in the day, there was hair, endless amounts of hair.
Oh, I love
we all
Bush.
had to-
And I don't mean George
part our way
W.
through
either.
it, you know? we had to pull out like 2 combs and part our asses through it, you know. But now it's like pretty much gone. So it really just comes down to, you know, your own personal preference. You know, taste, flavor, smell. You know, it's all. What's your thing? You know, it kind of comes down to your food preference. You know what I mean? I don't really think. Now there's hair is out of the picture pretty much.
It's wide ass open now. You know, it's not like anybody is curious about any of that anymore. Everybody knows what's what with whoever. You know, in the end, people end up making choices, and that's based on whatever with them in their minds, who they end up landing on. You know, it's man, I like everybody. I really
I
do.
love the speechlessness of Tooch in this conversation.
I have to go to work, but
I got to go piss anyway. Go ahead, Tooch.
Well, I've got a good one for me to end on, and this was since I got to go. I've told this on there too, but it's good and it's so true. So she happened to be black, you know, and we're doing her thing, and she's telling me it's okay, you know, for me to come, you know. Trust me, this is a couple of years ago. If I was still worried that I got her pregnant, I wouldn't be telling you, you know. But she said it was okay for me to go, so I went, you know. And then, like, you know, you doing that like normal. Like I'd fucked her like 3 times, so you have that uncomfortable chatter afterwards. Like you're like, is she gonna stay? Is she gonna go home? Like you want to make her feel comfortable. So somehow football comes up, and she's like, you know, I really love Aaron Rodgers, and I was like, are you fucking with me? And she's like, no, I'm a Packers fan. I was like, you're a Packers fan? And she's like, yeah. I was like, I swear on my mom's grave, if you'd have told me that before, I wouldn't have come in you. I said that to her. I was like, there's no way I would have accidentally knocked up a Packers fan. No fucking way. And I stand by that position. Like if she'd have told me she's a Green Bay fan, I'd still hit it. No way I'm coming in her though. No fucking way. Thank God she didn't get pregnant.
Oh my goodness! You should have put on at least 2 condoms then.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought she was just saying that shit because she saw bear stuff around the house or whatever. Like,
right?
Like, damn! Like you're a real Packers fan. Like, I fucking love Rod. Like, why are we fucking?
Just keep your dick out of those women, Dan. Just keep your dick out of them.
Yeah, there's a certain.
You just have to ask right off the bat. Are you a Bears fan or no? Okay.
There's a certain sense of like.
I'm not fucking you.
But there's a certain sense of like, we're fucking the Packer woman, you know, like that's right. Take this Bears dick, you know. There's some of that that's kind of there, but I would not have come in her.
I'm fucking your Packers wife right now.
Yeah, exactly.
She's some
fucking the Packers fandom out of you, one pump at a time. But I would have never finished a fight.
You're cuckolding the Packers fan, right?
Exactly. But I would have never finished in her if she'd have told me she's a Green Bay fan up front. There's no way.
Oh, good for you.
But not only was she telling me that, like, oh, yeah, I love Rodgers, she was going on and on about how hot he was and stuff, too. And it was like everything she was saying was making me frown more and more and more, you know? Like, don't tell me this shit. At least she told me what before I came, in one regard, from her perspective. Because if I'd have been, like, fully fucking like hard, like I could cut diamonds and shit. She starts telling me about how hot Aaron Rodgers is. My dick's gonna go soft, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So in that regard, at least she got it, you know. But
there's what were we talking about, man?
I was telling man when you left, I was like, look,
recording individual audio streams.
I gotta go. Let me finish telling Nomad this real quick, and you all can finish the show up. So there was a lady I was fucking happens to be black in like 2020. And like, so we're done. And like, you know, she told me I could come in there, you know, everything was okay. So I did, which is stupid, but I did, you know, and nothing happened out of that. Thank God. But So after we're done, we're just laying there making like, mindless chit chat. I'm trying to make her comfortable. Like, is she going to stay the night? Is she going to go home? Whatever. And she says to me, well, I really love Aaron Rodgers. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And she's like, no, he's so hot. And I was like, oh my God, are you a Packers fan? And she's like, yeah. I was like, oh, if you'd have told me that before, I'd have never come in you. There's no way I'm going to fucking accidentally knock up a Packers fan.
Dan, you're going to get like a knock at your door one day, and it's going to be a little white kid with like nappy,
No, don't tell me that. It has nothing to do with like her skin color. That's the fact she's a Packers
Daddy,
fan.
You're my dad.
I just want to know how good was the pussy though.
Oh, it was good. I came, right? I came. Yeah. Shit. It was good.
Man.
I wouldn't have come if I'd have known she's a Green Bay fan beforehand. That's true, man. For real. I'd have been like, maybe I should wrap this shit up right now.
Man, I'll drill the shit out of a Packers fan. Let me know where she at.
She lives in Virginia.
Shit,
You want the challenge of converting her, huh?
Well, Danica Patrick just rolled right over and went straight to Green Bay. So maybe some women have less issues with that the way us guys do.
Well, because Danica Patrick is, probably, I'm just going to say this as a speculation and fun, a lesbian because she's dating a, gay man at the time. So,
and she is in a sport where, it's kind of like manly. So maybe she's
right.
Okay.
Behind the scenes, she's fucking Rodgers in the ass with a toy.
I thought that was an odd couple from the moment. And then once I realized, once you mentioned that he was actually most likely gay,
right,
it made sense.
Fellas, since we're here, we already there, and we have broached the conversation. Give me the weight limit of the biggest woman you ever fucked with, starting with Tooch.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't.
Come on, man. Stop playing, man. Stop playing, Tooch.
I don't know.
200
something.
200 and what? 80?
No. Right around 200, low 200.
You had a D tackle?
He fucked Tank Johnson.
That's like 300.
Yeah.
I hope you never took a picture of her, Tooch.
I don't discriminate. I'm like Nomad. You know, my age, you can't be picky.
Come on, man. Okay, Shorty, come on. Give me one.
I got honestly probably not anywhere over $150.
Man, you pussy.
All right, I'll tell you mine, and I gotta go. Like I have no way around it. I should have left 4 minutes ago, but and again, I don't mean to call her out because I'm not even going to say who it was because the person I know, her dad died, and she went through a huge amount of depression, and put on 60 pounds in 2 months, and literally she couldn't get out of the bed. Man, it was just awful for her, and I definitely hit it then. When she was at her worst part in terms of her depression and putting it on. So the answer I would have would probably be 230.
That's about where I'm at, man. That's somewhere around the 230, 240 range, I believe. And
the smallest would be like 100 though.
Never anyone that's weighed more than I do. I know that.
Yeah, no one's ever. I'm the fat fuck of the two of us, but I'm just saying, I don't discriminate. I don't think it's fair to make women. I'm not one of these guys that's like the woman has to be a size 2. That's not a reasonable or fair expectation for women.
Right.
But I'm just saying I have been fortunate enough to be with the women like a size 2 or size 20. Like I've been all over the map. That's what I'm saying.
Dan, it was this woman when I was in Ackworth, Georgia. And I was in a bar, right? And when I tell you, she was a mixed woman. She was white. I think she was white and I don't know what the fuck she was. She was mixed, and she was beautiful, man. I mean, when I tell you beautiful, she was gorgeous. I mean, that woman was cute as a button, but she was big. She was big, and she was all ass, man, all ass, and that's just. I just couldn't get over.
You needed that extra 2 inches of ass or 2 feet of ass, just to get your dick in.
Whatever, man.
So you had enough, section there to enjoy yourself.
Okay, man. Whatever. I drilled the shit out. I drilled it good.
Well, gentlemen, I hate to leave. I love sex talk, but I got to go to work. I apologize. I'm going to be late. I have to go. I'm sorry.
Bye, Dad.
Bye, gentlemen. Thank you all. Love it.
Suck Aaron Rodgers' dick.
No, we're not going to win the Super Bowl, so he gets no head from me.
Hey, take care, Dad.
See you, Danny.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Danny.
But man,
So what's
you
going
you
on
guys
with that?
have no idea, man. You have no idea.
I mean, Toots, you have that problem too. You got that 6-foot cock. You need some ass to.
I don't know about
that. I saw those sexy. I know you've been in those porns. I know. We've all seen it, Tooch.
I wish. Yep. So how about before we get out of here, you guys got any news, shout outs, anything? Tell us what's going on, Shorty.
Oh man, no, there's a lot going on. I changed Bears Country podcast to Bears Country Productions. I'm doing a lot of other video content on there and some other fun stuff. We got a lot of stuff coming up here on the Ballroom Network that we're going to be working on here in the future. We're all excited about, and just make sure that you like and subscribe and set your notifications to both the Ballroom Network and Bears Country Productions, because the sky is the limit with what we're about to produce for you guys. So,
nice. So
we love you all so much in chat. We appreciate all of you so much. Really, we do. So thank you all, guys. Everyone out there, without you, none of this would be possible. So thank you guys.
Hell yeah. Nomad. Shout outs. What's going on? News.
Let me put a little butter on what Shorty just said.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about the Barroom Network and us being able to play a part in it is the canvas is blank. Everybody knows us for the Bears conversation, the off-color comments, and the funny stuff, and everything that comes with all of our personalities, whether it be me, Shorty, Tooch, Dan, Aldo, whoever. The thing about it is that we can always put those personalities in these conversations about where we can go with this moving forward. We can always adjust and bring you guys so much different, content. And it's all about creativity. And so don't be surprised if you see us looking different on the screen. You're never gonna see me on the screen. And that's the beauty of being Nomad. I can be any fucking thing I want to be on any fucking day on the Barroom. But some of this stuff that we're seeing right now, we're going to expand it and we're going to make it a whole lot better and a whole lot more entertaining. So don't get so wrapped up into the Bears conversation, you guys.
Yeah.
We're going to bring some more entertainment to you.
Mm-hmm. Bears and entertainment. Got Bears.
So next Sunday, we got the Bears at the Lions. Bears 5.5-point underdog. Total opened at 52.5. A lot of points. I don't know. Seems a bit high. Any predictions for next week's game, Shorty?
I'm gonna just try to go into a super fan mode here, and try to really think we're gonna win this game. But I don't see it happening. I'm sure you guys have probably touched on this on the show in the beginning, that there is just something about me that does have the idea that this team is just not doing the things necessary at every moment of every turn to win that game, right? So I think that maybe they've taken some opportunities just because they can, to where maybe it's a play call here and there, maybe it's just a sitting a player here and there or whatever, to just kind of keep them in the trajectory that they're in. And so I really don't expect any more wins out of this season. I really don't. And that's not being negative. It's just being realistic. And quite honestly, we're looking at possibly the freaking first pick in the draft. Fucking first pick in the draft. I'm on the barn. What am I talking about? So if that's possible, do I want another win? I'm gonna say at this point, I probably don't. Do I want to see the projection moving upwards like we have seen? The passing game has gotten better. I think we saw Justin Fields rip the ball more in this last game. He got the ball out of his hands quicker. From the last 3 games on, better. That's all I want to see. And if we lose the next 2 games, so be it. If we win, fine with me too. But I think at this point, I've just kind of given up on the season. I've realized that it is what it is, and I'm kind of looking to the future now because I think we all are doing that. And I think a win would be great for all of the fans too, but 2 more losses would be probably better. So let's see where this goes, guys. Where this goes, guys.
Nomad. Predictions, thoughts. Bears at Lions next Sunday. And I got one more question for you guys too after this.
I'm not going to stray far from what I told you earlier. When I think this coach and what he intends to make a point of going into the end of the season, and I think he wants to knock their dicks off because they're playoff contenders. Not only that, I think the bigger thing is they're rivals in your division, and I think he wants to knock their dicks off. Although they're going to do that, but I think the ending score is going to be 28-23 us.
That would put it right. That would put it right around the total and the side. So
I didn't give my prediction would be somewhere around like 28-21 Lions. Yeah.
Tell me, I don't want this to sound like a stupid question, but isn't there a gigantic difference between getting the first overall pick and the second overall pick in this draft? Or what do you think? I mean, if we had the second overall pick, we could still entertain offers for one of the other quarterbacks. Correct, Nomad?
It's about what do you think the second or first or second overall pick is? Are you relating that thought in relation to you or relation to other teams?
To the Bears.
No, it's not that much of a difference.
Shorty?
No. I don't think I heard you at one moment when I kind of peeked in the show. You were talking about Bryce Young and the Texans wanting Bryce Young really bad. Is that thing you were saying? So if that's the case, then it comes down to that, right? The other thing is, as we get closer into the draft process, this is all going to change so dramatically. There's going to be someone like a Will Levis that jumps up the board because of his massive gun for an arm and his massively quick release. I think that you're going to probably see someone like that, or like an Anthony Richardson jump up the board, and maybe Bryce Young might kind of fall down a little bit. There's so much that's going to happen once the season is over. It's hard to speculate what that pick is worth right now, as far as I'm concerned, because we all know how things change as the season progresses towards the draft. We all saw Aaron Rodgers go from the number 1 pick to the 20-something pick, in a matter of weeks. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes between the first and the second pick. I really am not.
I think hold on, Tooch. I think it's all about whether or not you think one of those 3 quarterbacks we were talking about, or 4, are franchise changing quarterbacks. I think that regardless of size, I think Bryce Young will take you where you need to be as a team. Forget his size. If you just throw that out and just look at the way he plays football and the way he throws the football and execute and crush in crucial situations, that guy is the dude. Now,
excellent throwing motion. He's got a beautiful release.
Now, when it comes to value at those positions, whether it be 1, 2, or 3, is your position strong enough to make people move around on the draft board and make people dive up and try to make decisions based on whether or not they want to get him. That's the conversation that needs to be had.
I know this is like we've been talking about this as Bears fans. Like we don't have to worry about looking for quarterbacks in the draft now, but it's almost become to where we're now looking at quarterbacks in the draft again to see what the value is in the pick that we have and what can we get for that pick based on what the quarterback value is, So we're almost kind of stuck back looking at quarterbacks just to evaluate what we have and what we can get for that pick. It's kind of a double-edged sword,
So to me, we know the Texans are in the market for a quarterback. So if we were to get the first pick, we'd have the Texans as a possible trade partner in addition.
But do you see Lovey? If Lovey has 2 picks in the first 10 picks, right? And let's say, an Anthony Richardson or a Will Levis is still available there. Don't you think he would go defense with the first pick?
Nope.
Did you talk about this already?
No, I don't.
I think he would.
Not when you're at that high of a position in the draft, you're looking quarterback.
What has eluded Lovey, and he's not making the decision. Lovey would be lucky if he holds on to his job. So that's number one. Lovey is not going into that draft room in a position of strength. So he's not going to get the guy that he wants. There's other people making that pick. And what it looks like to me from a distance is a quarterback has always eluded Lovey.
Yep.
So far. And also the Texans are quarterback deficient. So it looks like to me it's going to be a quarterback no matter how you look at things. No matter how you look at things, it's got to be a quarterback that can change a franchise over. And no matter who that is, I think it's a quarterback for the Texans.
Yeah, I don't know if they view Davis Mills as the guy who's going to take them to their first Super Bowl.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, so if the Texans have the overall pick, the Bears' bargaining power slightly diminished. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I think I'm good. I want to say thank you for letting me join the show late tonight, guys. I had a lot of fun.
I saw you pop in there, and I was like, should I let him just fucking sit back there, Nomad? No, I'm just kidding. All right, Nomad. Nomad and I were like, fuck that guy back there.
Well, for a second, I was like, I hope they don't bring me in right away so I can see what the fuck they're talking about.
No, I'm just kidding.
Where the fuck is Aldo's bubble-eyed ass?
I know. I tried to see if I could, if Aldo still had the camera on the party, so I could flash that up there, but he's turned that off. So he must be having a good time. So,
he must be.
Good for him.
Doing something.
Good for him. He deserves it.
All right. Before we get out of here, man, I want to thank Mr. Shorty, Nomad, Dan Aguirre, Aldo, all the Barflies, everyone who does all the great programming at the Bar Room Network,
including you, Tooch. Great job, Tooch.
I just by accident I do some good things.
Mm-hmm. By accident, we all do too.
Nomad, great job as always. I always like Nomad. Like once a show, we'll say something, like last week with everyone's looking for the next Justin Fields, man. That just kind of puts it all in perspective,
Right.
At least for me. So again,
I do that once a week.
Yeah.
No, it's usually me. He's just giving you credit for it, Nomad.
Yeah. Yep. Shorty, thanks again for jumping. I wasn't sure if you'd make it. I'm glad you showed up.
Appreciate it.
And we got your insight at the back end of the show. And I want to thank all the Barfly. Man, the chat room was really great tonight, man. It's a lot of good.
I was peeking in and out, watching the chat and listening to you guys here and there, just with our dinner party we had going on as well. And love you guys in chat. You guys are all what makes this work. So thank you guys.
A lot of great comments.
Just really quick, without you guys in the chat, and I do think moving forward we need to focus more on some of their comments and talk to them a little bit more, answer a few more questions. I think that's the best thing moving forward. But that's just me. I'm just a small guy.
No.
And I appreciate you, Tooch, man, for everything.
We should have taken some questions next time. We will.
I appreciate you, Tooch.
Chat, great idea.
Appreciate you too, Tooch.
All right, buddies.
Appreciate you too, Tooch.
For Shorty and Nomad, Dan Aguirre, and Aldo, this is Tooch and Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls signing off.
Thank you for listening to Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls. Make sure you subscribe to the Barroom Network and you give us a rating on iTunes. Until next week, my name is Namse. Bear down.